Hey guys, it's Robert Gardner with the Robert Gardner Wellness Podcast. I'm back with Akai. We are going to have a conversation, maybe somewhat centered around Jiddu Krishnamurti, but as is the nature of the podcast, I had a particular inkling when I talked to Akai the first time. I am pronouncing that correctly, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I always check his name pronunciations. There were certain things that we hit on, and when we hit on Krishnamurti and you like lit up, I was like, oh, I can't talk about Krishnamurti with anybody. Like nobody even knows who I'm talking about or what I'm making reference to. So don't feel like that we have to stay on topic. We can really just bounce from like one thing to another. And one of the things I was thinking about is I've literally had almost like arguments with people about how the particular is related to the general, or how this one thing is related to everything else, or this one area of study is related to a consilience, a sort of unity of knowledge. And when I read Krishnamurti's books, there was one I read years ago, and people are like, well, what does he write about? And I'm like, freedom, meditation, like love, like, but you can tell, I can tell when I read it, it's all part of a continuity, and he's just on this other chapter talking about something that relates to everything else. So I do the same thing in terms of my thinking, and sometimes when people are looking at my massage related business or education business, they're looking at this one piece and they don't understand, like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, what the hell like, he just talked about some software. What the hell do these cameras have to do? And I'm like, it's all part of the same thing.
Part of it, yeah.
Like why is, like, he has a thing where he reviews coffee, and then he's like drinking beer and doing beer reviews. What the hell do beer reviews have to do with body work? And I'm like, well, it's all part of my social media, and it's all part of the brand building related to the overall business. And they're like, but this doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and like, my name's Antoine. That's my real name, my alias and whatnot. The name didn't come about until basically after I'd come to know Jiddu, or come to know how he thought. Because the fundamentals of life, basically, like all these little things that people tend to focus on as their truth, all of that stuff winds in and it moves, like it breathes. And so when we ignore certain parts of that flow from that continuity, that's when the lack of understanding happens. So with Thai massage, for instance, we know you can't do the same move, the same position for practitioner and client as you do with the leg. Hell, it doesn't. It's not even the same from left arm to right arm, right leg to left leg. You have to change your whole view, which is basically, what is that? Flipping it around, basically like a mirror. And so if they can't even see the digital aspect of it, which technically is from the physical world, yeah, there's an interconnectedness that's not happening, and it is on us as healers. But that's why it takes this level of philosophy in order to bring that in, in order to bring it around and wrap it within.
Yeah, there's so many strange problems I've gotten into during my lifetime because of very similar concepts. Like, I was a philosophy student in college. Before I went to school for massage, it was because I got hit by a drunk driver and got sick, and then it was like I took all that philosophical speculation and turned it towards practical application of biology. And like, okay, I'm in pain. Why? Like, the car accident happened. Why am I still in pain? I went to massage school, and then after massage school, I started digging on the fringes. And when I was digging on the fringes, I was like finding cranial sacral therapy and yoga and Thai massage and all this stuff that was like around the periphery. And then I was like, dude, this is different knowledge than what I was taught in school. This isn't like, It was like being a philosophy student and you study the history of Western philosophy. We never read Krishnamurti. I discovered Krishnamurti through a friend of mine. And then when I hit Krishnamurti, I was like, oh, dude, what is this? This is, whoa. Like, this dude is like, yeah.
Understand it when you first peered into it? Did you feel like you were understanding? Just, it was understandable?
So, yeah, like, there's, oh, man. So, it's like, there are certain things about Krishnamurti, and I've only run into a handful of people, I could count on less than one hand, who know who Krishnamurti is and have read enough of his work to be able to kind of conceptualize it. And one of the things that would happen for me, and I don't know how to explain it, like, I didn't do great in school, and I don't mean just in college. I seem to have like points where, I don't know, like I do better and teachers kind of like me, and then some teachers didn't like me, and it was always a problem, and I could never understand why, or like basically I walk around assuming that my brain is like everybody else's. I think like everybody else. It's everybody's having the same experience, only to come to find out I'm 47 years old and I'm still grappling with the same stuff. I could sit down in a philosophy class that was lecture-based in a college. If you're not familiar with this, if you didn't go to a university like I did, if you listen to Jordan Peterson, when I listen to him, I'm like, why is this so? And I'm like, oh, it's just like philosophy lecture. Whether or not you agree with him, you have to go on this like long arc for like the whole hour to be able to like put all the pieces together. Well, I remember being in class one day at the university, and somebody, like, we had an exam coming, and the student looked over at me, and I put my bag down, and I was just sitting there listening to the professor, and they were like, yo, bro, you don't take notes? And I was like, what? Take notes? Like, how do you listen to him and like, if you're taking notes? And they're like, oh my God, dude, you don't take notes? I just sat down in class for a semester and wrote a 5-page essay from memory. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, you guys don't do that? Like, I remember one time there was a humanities requirement because my focus was on ethics and existentialism. Man's place in the universe and right behavior. They're almost religious things, but minus God, essentially. Like, what is man doing in the world, and what's right behavior? Where was it going with that? I blanked out.
Ethics and...
Yeah, about whether they had to take notes or not. No, I don't remember. Anyway, so the whole deal was, I was like, how do you listen to what he's saying? Oh, I remember what it was. So because I was ethics was like, philosophy was in like the humanities. And because in universities, they want you to have a well-rounded, education, I would take like an ethics class or a bioethics class. And these were great subjects to me because this was right where I wanted to study, right? So there were engineering students in class. And I only later realized, why did all these engineers, and it's like, hold on. These people are in a different part of the university. They're getting an engineering degree. They're going to build bridges and like be engineers and structural engineers and all this stuff. They're taking a humanities requirement which an ethics class or a bioethics class would fulfill. When I sat in class and the exam was coming up and the professor said, oh no, there's no right or wrong answer. You're just going to write like a 5-page essay. They all lost their fucking minds.
And that's what I would expect.
Robert, they're engineers. There is a right answer. Like, the bridge falls when there's enough force, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not even, like, it's not that I don't push philosophy to double-blind research studies and understanding human consciousness and brains and neurons and synapses and, like, it's not that I don't go that far, it's just that that's a different application. So, long story short, you know, when a friend was like, man, we were at a party one night, and he's like, dude, you need to read Jiddu Krishnamurti. And I'm like, who? And he's like, man, I don't know how to explain it. He's just this like this thinker guy. It's kind of like yoga or something. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I already had like a little background in yoga. If people ask me, like, I see it as all part of one conceptual continuity. And in fact, the only thing in my membership vault, there's a small subsection where a friend of mine was like, man, when are you going to teach a student spirituality? And I'm like, Javier, I love you very much, but I can't teach them how to press on a leg. I don't know how I'm going to teach them spirituality. Like I am not being understood as an educator or whatever. Like, there is a section in the membership vault where I'm like, what about spirituality? And the only one that's there is a talk about Jiddu Krishnamurti that I was basically talking to the camera. The challenge is Jiddu Krishnamurti, I've never heard philosophers talk about him. And from the outside, people will just say, oh, it's yogic philosophy. And I'm like, he has some influence from major world religions, but I think Krishnamurti is rolling over in his grave if you try to compare him to anyone else. Krishnamurti was so fucking, like, I've told people it was like yogic punk. It just
the way he
stripped. Yeah. It just stripped everything down, bare bones. Like, he's one of the thinkers that I say this positively, by the way. I nearly had a panic attack reading one of his books because he didn't give me any outs. And Krishnamurti would, like, so I was familiar, and I still piss students off constantly because I'm like, well, what is massage? And they're like, fuck, man, you are always doing that. Well, I'm like, well, what is the good? It's Socratic ignorance. It's a real core piece of like how I think about things, because when people have a really defined like definition, they've already like concretized, so you can't change it. If a car always runs on petrochemicals, then what happens when a Tesla comes along? And it's like, oh, well, maybe a car isn't what okay, there's a different kind of car. Like, you're changing, things. Krishnamurti, in the time where I almost had a panic attack reading his book, Krishnamurti didn't come in and say, this is the truth. Krishnamurti dealt with finding the truth through negation. And he's like, oh, well, what about this? What about society? No, it's not that. What about, is this love? It's not that. Yeah. Dude, I had a fucking a city in my head. It was a mental construct, and he gave me no fucking out. Every time I read, he's like, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. I had a city in my head. He fucking destroyed every building. There was nothing left, and he's like, the book's over.
Now look at it.
And I was like, dude, this is fucking me up. Like, this is, like, it was causing, at that time, like, causing some anxiety. I've processed it, but it never left. It was a real extension of my kind of thinking. Now, when you take that, whatever the fuck that is in my brain, and then apply it to the massage industry, that's why people don't let me into core curriculum. They're like, this guy's fucking everything up. He is not, like, fundamentally, they look at it and I think they feel like, man, this guy's some kind of pirate or anarchist or something. Like, he has no fucking interest in conforming at all. And I'm like, it is of no virtue to be profoundly well adjusted to a sick society. That's Krishnamurti.
Oh, yeah.
It is of no virtue to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. I'm like, once you get to that point, what do you do now?
Oh, you're making me cry because I could only wish that I had a panic attack when I read his words. It was some sort of, for me, I think, I was already kind of in tune to astrology for the most part as far as behavioral psychology and, basically the nature of people. And so that was basically my baseline as going through everything prior to that as an introvert. And so I just chalked it up that there's the concrete part, I built that. And so even though it was actually what the science dictates, it was constructed in my mind in a non-physical form. And so opening his book, I noticed that he wasn't even acknowledging behavior. And so I'm just like, okay, so there's more layers that actually needs to come off even beyond the unseen, the first unseen layer, basically ego. And for that same ego to be the thing that we're supposed to understand more and deeper, that's all it's doing is peeling away, and it will leave behind the desert because of the way we were conditioned. It just wipes all of that away. It's just, you pick all of the things that you had wrapped nicely in the bow, just as I did. And then when he said what he said, I read what he read. It was almost like I didn't have to read it twice. So I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know I'm not smart. I know I was a C average student through high school at least, just to not get my ass whipped when I got home.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to be too good or too bad just to not breed that expectation. This was high school. Yeah. So I was met the education construct within not getting my ass beat. Defense mechanism, construct. So
I'm still listening. I'm going to turn on a light real quick. Go ahead.
Okay. As we're as we're going through like the developmental part of our lives and stuff, it's almost like both things are happening at the same time. The diluting of ourselves and the unveiling of ourselves. It's just, if we're not seeing that individually as those two things happening to us, that's how people end up losing it. So whatever inside of you it touched, I personally think it kept you from getting lost in that spiral to where the panic attack goes into more, like most people. You had an intuition to it. Otherwise, you would have just closed the book, Rob. All you would have did was close the book. All you would have done was fail.
The thing is, he wasn't. When I say it was like yogic punk, like I always looked at. So this is me. Yoga and meditation, in particular. I don't, even though I know yoga came from Hinduism and it came from a religious background, spiritual background. Meditation coming from or being heavily dealt with in Hinduism and Buddhism. I always think of yoga and meditation as being tools, not belief systems. You don't have to believe anything about yoga for yoga to transform you. You don't have to believe anything about meditation. I mean, nothing. You could be a Christian, you could be a Buddhist, you could be a Hindu, you could be a Muslim, you could, on and on and on. They're tools. And what did I get? I also got this other cool tool called Time Massage, and I was using those three tools and like pushing on human consciousness itself. The thing that freaked me out about Krishnamurti wasn't just the conclusions he was coming to, it was the fact that he so systematically didn't allow me an escape point where I'd go, man, there was a real weird like logical fallacy here. You like went around something. Mm-hmm. Krishnamurti fucking just decimated all of my mental constructs and left like you call it a desert, left nothing behind. And I went, it's super difficult because why was I having a panic attack? Well, it's like everything you think is true isn't, but at the same time, if you embraced it as like you became a point of awareness and you got to choose. Like I knew a lot of people because of my background in existentialism. Kierkegaard is like a Christian existentialist. Okay, so there's a Christian kind of existentialism. Nietzsche was not a Christian existentialist. Like there were different kinds of Camus, like Camus and the Plague. Did you ever read that?
No, not at all.
So long story short, the like existentialists sometimes their books. Like I was very taken with Nietzsche at one point in my philosophy background, And then Camus wrote this book called The Plague. And essentially what happens is a plague descends on a city, and it's certain in a novel form, explaining how all the different people respond to this plague. The priest is saying it's God and God's retribution, and all these other people are freaking out, and people are dying, and the plague, and this, and this, and this. The hero of the plague is the doctor. And the doctor essentially says, I don't know why the plague happened, but he just goes out and helps people. It's existential in terms of what's man's purpose in life, and then like what's like correct behavior. He doesn't really say, I don't know why this happened. It just did, and we just try to work with it. So the existentialists dealing with people's, place in the universe, there is a sort of Christian existentialism. But one of the things I found is like a lot of people found existentialism to be painfully like nihilistic. Like, especially if it's not Christian, if it's not God oriented, they're like, this is fucking chaos. This means there's no reason. Like there's no unmoved mover. We were not created children of God in a God's image, and it's like, for me, here's what happened. It tweaked things in another way, because similar to what I mentioned with Krishnamurti, it meant that you had a choice in what you did. If there's free will, which is another good philosophical conversation, by the way. But it wasn't dictated to me how to behave. There was this weird thing that happened where for other people, this was if you were a philosophy student dealing with this shit and you had a background and your mom was a Christian and you were breaking away, becoming almost like agnostic or a Christian or atheist, it could be very unsettling. For me, there was a sort of freedom because it meant you could choose what you wanted to become and what you wanted to focus on. You could choose a path in life, and then it was like this grand adventure. Like you could almost make it up as you went. It was like, I remember somebody mentioning jazz music to me when I was very young, and I had a background in school with like classical music because it was what they taught in Western schools. So I played clarinet for 2 years, bassoon for 2 years. And I loved like classical music because of my background, and then Nirvana hit. I wasn't playing bassoon anymore. Like something, the world changed for me. But somebody asked me about jazz, and I grew up an hour away from New Orleans, and I was like, yeah, I don't really understand. Like, I'm probably 12 or something. They're like, do you like jazz? And I'm like, nah, it just seems sort of made up. Now, who's a big fan of jazz now? And it's like, no. It's not even Sun Ra. It's not like free jazz. There's a structure, but within that structure, there's an infinite number of possibilities. Everybody's playing music with the same 3 and 5 chords. How can we come up with so many different permutations and so many time signatures and so many notes and like infinite possibilities? For some people, the stuff that Krishnamurti was saying was like unsettling, and I've had my moments, but I do feel like Krishnamurti, when he was looking at the world at large, I felt like he had a sense of the ramifications if people didn't go through the same process. If you just do what your culture tells you and the leaders tell you without ever individuating and like figuring it out on your own, basically there's no change. It just perpetuates the same thing again and again. And Krishnamurti was like trying to break it.
Yeah. And honestly, do you remember his death? Was it 83?
Well, so I didn't even know who he was at that time. I didn't discover him until after he was gone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was definitely somewhere around that range, between the 80 or 84. I'll give it that much. But we're next up, dude. Like his energy has to go somewhere when he left. The next step after encountering him, the next step was choosing to go to massage school, and that was after ignoring it for probably about 2 years straight. Yeah. And that was after moving to the desert, being afraid of going west of the Mississippi. So when I got over there, how I came across him was I was working at a Greek restaurant, and I was helping the manager because his wife was friends with my girlfriend, who they worked at Goodwill together, and so they needed help. I stopped working at Denny's. I got tired of it, and I felt like I needed to focus on the small business a little bit more, and so when I went to work at that Greek restaurant, it got to the point that, well, first off, I didn't know anything about Krishnamurti, and yet everybody in there, it was only like two people that revolved as employees.
Yeah.
And both of them left because ultimately the work was so stressful for them that I wasn't making an example of why I'm not stressed out while working there as a new guy. Now, I have food service. Just that's fun to me, making food for people. It's fun. They smile because of it. But I also understand how people feel about love and that connotation towards food that they put towards it.
Yeah.
And so even with that conflict, I was still like, yeah, I'll help these people out just because they need it. Well, before I knew it, I was the only one that worked there. The owner didn't really show up, and the ceiling was caving in. It was just me taking orders, busting cables, making food, sending it out, and cleaning. Just me. And so one night, I'm out there, I'm out in the front, and this was in Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm out front, and this guy walks up, and he's all like, "How you doing?" And I was like, "I'm good." And he starts talking about space, and I was just all like, I think I told him something about the fact that it's starting to look like space is moving on the same wavelength as us, as far as behaviorally. And he was just all like, "Wait right here," and I was like, "I'll be here for 2 more hours." He came back 15 minutes later with an IKEA bag, those big blue IKEA bags, full of basically magic, universe, biology, and all these subjects, which I was already interested in. But then there was a bunch of random books with Krishnamurti's face all over it. And I was like, hey, he looks kind of has a sad face like I do a little bit. So I liked him immediately because there was a sadness that he seemed confident in knowing he knew about. And that's how I say that I can saw him. And so I read them books, man, I tell you, I did not have to read any of them twice. And as far as where they are now, they went just the same way as they came. It got passed on. And I don't know if there was a dead end, but his words, they're meant to shine some sort of light on the blind spots that we have going through that cyclical format, like the universe. And so, the best.
Yeah, the people would compare, and I'm saying this just as a generalization. I don't think this really encapsulates them, but people would say it was yogic philosophy, and they would say it was jnana yoga, which is the yoga of the intellect. It was like Krishnamurti was using language against itself to like destroy. It was like trying to wrap my brain around it. And do you know much about his history or background?
Somewhat. As far as remembering, I couldn't recite it. I could say that.
The Theosophists, Besant, I think was the guy's name, like discovered Krishnamurti on a beach in India and said that his like chakra pattern was so like the Theosophists and Blavatsky, I think, and whatever, and Besant or whatever, they basically adopted Krishnamurti from his family, I think, along with his brother, and gave him the best education that money could buy from Europe, India, like, so ethnically he's from India, but like his education was very like world oriented, and later he was basically being raised to be the Messiah for the Order of the Star, for the Theosophists. And later he was on a cruise liner with Joseph Campbell, Hero with 1,000 Faces, and was talking to Joseph Campbell about basically comparative mythology and all this stuff. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, I can't even imagine what a conversation between those two people must have been like. Krishnamurti's first task when he took the helm of the Order of the Star was to disband it and declare that there is no path to truth, that there is no leader, that there is no, basically, like disbanding the organization, but he spent the rest of his life teaching. Like it's like a weird, like, I don't know. It's almost like they're like, so he's like a cult leader, and I'm like, dude, Krishnamurti is the anti-cult leader. Like, I don't know how to explain to you. Like, the guy didn't want you to follow him, but at the same time was also in this weird position where he had enough donors that he never needed money. He was free to just like continue to do this and like give talks, and where it was like, if you want to call it jnana yoga, I guess that's fine, but he's using the yoga of the intellect to break it down. So I discovered Krishnamurti. I was also doing yoga. I was very taken with the Iyengar yoga in particular. And then at some point when I was studying yoga, I ran across Eric Schiffman's Yoga, The Spirit and Practice of Moving into Stillness. Do you know anything about this book?
I think that might have been one of them. I would have to see it.
Have you done yoga before?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. So we're getting to know backgrounds, but
you don't assume, right?
Yeah. What was that?
You don't assume.
Oh yeah.
You know.
So.
Don't assume.
Yeah, Eric was this white guy. I related to him because, well, it's a white guy like me, and like he got interested in yoga. And in this book, I think it's one of the best books in English on yoga itself. I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't like the book wasn't just revelatory. It helped explain what the yoga practice was doing as a tool. It explained what was happening to my consciousness and my body because of the practice. So, Yoga, The Spirit and Practice of Moving into Stillness by Eric Schiffman. I found some stuff online, and then there was a forum. And this is, good God, is this 14 years ago? Well, anyway, it was a long time ago. There was a forum where Eric was like talking to people who, like, I would say followed him, but it's not a cult. It's just like he's a yoga teacher and he talks to students or whatever. And I went on to this rinky-dink forum and I was like, hey, my name is Robert and like I do yoga and I live in Texas. And Eric came in and was like, oh, hey, Robert, it's nice to meet you. And I was like, whoa. I was like, Eric Schiffman? I was like, holy shit. Like because you have to understand, to me, Eric Schiffman would be like Shiva Ray or somebody on the Sean Korn, somebody on the cover of Yoga Journal. Like, I was just like, oh God, you know. So later, maybe a year later, I was talking to people through those forums. Eric was coming to an event here in Texas outside of Houston. And I went and got to meet Eric and like sit and chat with him and ask questions and, you know, with a few other things. And to make a long story short, part of the reason that Eric was so interesting to me was Eric, when he was in his teens, got a yoga book, did some yoga, you know, found like a Krishnamurti book. He was so taken with Krishnamurti. He said that like Krishnamurti would take walks. So Eric, he's like a teenager, would go and take walks and just think, you know. Eric wrote Krishnamurti a letter and said, I want to come study with you. And Krishnamurti wrote him back and was like, yeah, come on out to school in England. Just you come here, we'll let you in. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, Eric, you fucking lived with Krishnamurti? He's like, oh yeah, no, I lived at the school in England. And he would like work with Krishnamurti. And then Krishnamurti was like, okay, hold on. Like, you need a physical practice. And being Krishnamurti, he had contacts in India. So he fucking sent a teenage Eric Schiffman to go live with, not Patabi Joyce, with, God damn it, Vinny Yoga. Shit, hold on. Give me 2 seconds. I got to look this up. Let's see. I'm going to mess this up. It's been a while since I've talked about him. No, it's not Patabi Joyce. Where is it? Hold on. Because it helps like make sense of the story when I go through. Jessica Char. Okay, finally, thank God. Okay, so long story short, Krishnamurti works with Eric, sends Eric to India. He goes and studies with Jessica Char. And I can go into more stories about this. There's a particular one that I might have to tell, but he studies with Jessica Char for a while, and then he like leaves and he goes and studies with Iyengar. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, dude, how the like you okay, Eric is in his teens. He's hanging out with Jiddu Krishnamurti, BKS Iyengar, and Jessica Char? Like, I talked to Eric. He's like, oh, yeah, I saw Krishnamacharya in person. And I'm like, dude, seeing Krishnamacharya in person is like seeing Jesus if you're in the yoga community. Krishnamacharya is like the entire fucking lineage of Hatha yoga. Like, it's like saying you saw Krishnamacharya in person is like you saw the resurrected Jesus to people. Like, I was just like, oh, my God. And long story short, Eric would tell this story because he's a young, precocious teenager. And I relate to this, of course. He goes and studies with Jessica Char. He gets to India. It's like, and he'd sit down with Jessica Char, and Jessica Char would ask him, like, well, how do you like the weather? And he's like, oh, it's great, you know. And he's like, well, how do you like the food? And he's like, it's a little weird, you know, it's curry and stuff, but it's, you know. Eric is getting angry because he's a kid who's come all halfway around the world to study with Jessica Char, and Jessica Char isn't teaching him anything. And then, like, Eric got frustrated and asked him a question, and then Jessica Char answered. And then Eric asked him another question, and Jessica Char answered. And then Eric freaked out. When he went back to his room, he wrote like a whole list of questions. And when he went back the next day, he just kept pummeling Jessica Char with questions to get answers. So this is the thing about teaching, by the way. This will help students. If you're a student and you're watching this, it'll help make sense. So after he studies with Jessica Char, he gets used to this thing where you ask a question, they answer. You ask a question, they answer. He goes and studies with Iyengar. Do you ask Iyengar questions?
I don't think so.
No. Iyengar tells you how it is.
Yeah.
You put your arm like this. Lift this finger. Turn this joint. Like, absolute, like, totally different teaching style. Totally different teaching style. And I tell students this, and it does have a point. Guys, I'm Jessica Char. The students, when I go, well, what is massage? And they're like, fuck you, man. I'm like, they want to be told this is what the truth is. This is, and I'm like, it doesn't, this is me as an educator, as a teacher. It doesn't particularly resonate for me. I've had conversations with Kristen, and I get brutal with Kristen sometimes. I love Kristen to death. I'm like, Kristen, listen. In everything else in your life, question everything, including what I tell you. When it comes to the body work and the business, just do what I tell you to do. That's as far as I'm ever going to go towards control. And she inevitably comes back and she's like, God damn it, you were right. But it's only in these one areas. Like, I'm not trying to let her give up her autonomy. Does it make sense? There's a weird thing that happens where, okay, I like Rajneesh. I read one of his books in college. I got Meditation, The Art of Ecstasy at a thrift store in Baton Rouge for $25. That book, I still have a copy of it. It's covered in tape to like hold it together. It blew my fucking mind. I didn't know about Oregon. And I didn't know that his followers were responsible for the largest bioterror attack on U.S. soil. I was like, oh my God. Like, this was the yoga teacher guy. Like, this made sense, you know? I have a challenge with cults where they're trying to get people to give up their autonomy to this one leader who knows better. I have a tendency to tell Kristen, listen, when it comes to the bodywork and the business, just do what I say. Everything else, just question me. It doesn't matter to me at all. Politics, question me. Science, question me. Like, don't give up your autonomy. Like, she did this the other day. We taught class, and she's still learning to teach. She looked at me in front of the students and went, well, is it okay if I teach them this? And I'm like, Kristen, you don't ask me whether you can teach something. What you do is you look at me and say, listen, you old white motherfucker, shut up. I'm going to teach this and show them the cool stuff you won't show them. I'm like, Kristen, I told her this in front of the students. I'm like, you have to good cop, bad cop. This is about you teaching. There's nothing that she's going to share that isn't going to help the students. There is a different frame of reference for 14 years teaching where I think, can the students process this information in a usable way? And that thing about teaching is why I mentioned Desikachar and then Eric and then like Iyengar and Krishnamurti, because they have different teaching styles.
But did they all understand the limitations that teaching can go through when it's being translated to another? Because it is up to the other person's perception whether it's truth or not.
I think fundamentally, so this is me. I don't think of, so with Desikachar and Iyengar, I know that yoga is a subset of Hinduism. I have a tendency to feel that even though they were people within those classes and cultural distinctions, yoga is something to prepare your body for meditation. And meditation is a tool. It is not a religious pursuit. Like, in other words, meditation is like a microscope. It doesn't tell you what the truth is. It allows you to observe what the truth is. Like, I had a friend, remember I mentioned Javier? Javier was a client I got at a place I used to work. And Javier came in and he had low back pain, and I was working with him in his chiropractor's office, and I was stretching his legs and doing all this stuff. And he even told me, he's like, man, this is kind of gay. Like, you're, he never had a man interact with his body that way. And I was like, Javier, there's nothing wrong with you, dude. You just sit in a chair too much. You need to go do some yoga. And I didn't see him for like 6 months or a year. And he comes on in and he's like, hey, man, what's going on? You know, whatever, you know. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, dude, I started doing yoga and like all my back pain went away. And I'm like, awesome. And then later I got a phone call from him because we became friends. And he's like, man, I'm having a problem though. I'm like, what's up? And he's like, well, I'm Catholic. And like the yoga is kind of, I'm like, oh, is your exercise regimen getting in the way of your spirituality? Because the physical handle, hatha yoga, when I say yoga, that's normally what I'm talking about. It's a tool. But what happens when you start to change?
The beliefs have to go with it.
What happens when it changes your perspective?
Oh, well, yeah. I guess it just looks like dark at that point. They don't really see. Like, I mean, it has to shift. But then what does it land on? Like, what did Javier see? Like,
not exactly sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting though, because you said he was Catholic, but there is like, I mean, obviously yoga handles everything through and through, but the only way for the world to accept it, to even embrace anything more, is apparently to start with the physical side of things. And so it just got a little out of control. And then there's offshoots of yoga people that just are doing it for the reasons that we see now. And it's like, I can't even see any part of their life that they're like acting out. Like, I'm saying acting. Actually, they're not even acting out yogic fundamentals in life. It's like, okay,
yoga in the United States is Lululemon. The yogis I was interested in were smoking hash on the banks of the Ganges, covered in sackcloth and ashes with dreads.
Yeah.
It's like, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't have dreads and I'm not covered in ash, but I get it. And for me personally, this is something, I guess I'd have to talk to Eric about this. There was a point in time I just stopped. And it's not because I don't think the practice doesn't work. It's that I was having a harder and harder time relating to everyday people because I was pushing yoga, breathing, fasting, meditation so far that I was like, I mean, it feels good, but the thing is, how difficult it is for me to have a conversation with students when I haven't eaten in 10 days, and you're not hungry.
That's supposed to be the best information that comes out.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
So, but the thing is, it's like, but it doesn't prepare me to pay a mortgage.
Well, that's what it goes with the person's awareness to something and how it plugs in and why we needed Krishnamurti to actually speak. Regardless of how soft-spoken he was, regardless of how many babies was in the audience screaming, whatever, he just had to get out there and speak because he really didn't know he wasn't going to make it. So there's a certain line that these thinkers can't cross because of the life that they took all those understandings into. Because, I mean, I can't say that I lived the life that Krishnamurti lived, but why does his words make sense? So now I have to go back. Not him. He doesn't have to tell me or fill in my hole. But it's much better if we go in knowing what holes we have based on what he says. Because what he says is already based on Western, Eastern, intellectual, spiritual understandings that have been merged in the speaker. And so it is up to us to be that kind of observer, like to just observe myself so that there's a symbolic mirror. Like it's like I'm observing this hole that I missed in the understanding, because most people just go forward with the understanding, and that's why we got all these memes online. They don't put it into action, and that's pretty much what he was trying to form people into doing, is transitioning from thought to action without compromise, without the conflict. That's what I really feel like the message overall that he was trying to let live on, the legacy part. And it just seems like everybody ignored it. Alan Watts tried to bring him back. Remember Alan Watts, right? I remember that name. I don't know why I understand his language. His language is so out there. What do you mean
Alan tried to bring him back?
Well, he used him as a lot of reference to the levels of the psyche and being human in the world, kind of, in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm generalizing it for sure.
Yeah, no. But, and Alan Watts is another thinker that is a huge, vast, broad scope. Yeah, it's like, well, is it Eastern or Western? And I'm like, dude, it's Alan Watts. Like, it's just like Krishnamurti. Yeah. It's like, it's pretty, yeah.
He's like the Eastern and Western world. And that's what it takes, man. There's a duality there. There's that dark and light thing, or whatever the world sees, whatever the world doesn't see. It's got to come together. And so the more, like, say, Thai massage, the more that our understanding of how we see Thai massage flows through the sessions, flows through the education, then the constructs are pretty much just sitting there taking all the hits in the weak spots that they've made. And so that's generally why you can ask an entire class, what is massage? And they just flip and just go up the wall. Because they don't want to pull out their own.
Everybody knows what that is. That is essentially what they'll say, and I'll go, cool, is Stretch Lab doing massage? God damn it. Is yoga therapy doing massage? Is Watsu and aquatic therapies, is that massage? And I'm like, what is massage? And they're like, well, the law says it's the manipulation of soft tissue. And I'm like, cool, so you don't think stretch therapy manipulates soft tissue? And they're like, God damn it. And I'm like, dude, I have a lawyer. I should have been a lawyer, by the way. That was really where I would have excelled. Like mentally, I can do that shit. I've had conversations with my lawyer. It's like having a talk with Better Call Saul. He knows I'm a good guy with ethics, but he looks at it and he's like, Robert. He doesn't say this, but he's looking at me like, Robert, we live in a very corrupt world. We have to use law and like skirt around shit daily. He's like, trust me, the stuff that you're asking is nothing compared to what I deal with on the daily. But,
it gets deep, man.
Yeah.
It does. But all the understandings that we have, they seem to come together with the fundamentals. I mean, there was a lot of things that was completely conditioned that still had relevance to his teaching. I can't even call him teaching. It didn't feel like I was learning. It felt like I was realizing, but not mentally. It was like firing in my nerves for some reason. That's why I just went ahead and went to massage school. And once that happened, it was over at that point. I had given in. 2015 comes around, I gave in to everything that wasn't constructed on the physical matter. Because if I'm going to be able to connect all those strings that people make tapestries out of to read things, then I'm going to have to do that in my own way in order to lay out some tapestry that maybe in some world somebody else can be comfortable with, embracing. And it's this tapestry of understanding. Our mind is a blanket of freaking electricity, and some people choose to just turn it off. And so it's as long as you can at least get their attention in a way that really it's not conflict within you, so it's not like you're adding conflict to anybody. So it's either going to come from them or it's not going to be there at all. I can't help but to go against the grain, Rob. I can't help it. Because if I don't, I'm automatically doing something wrong, because as soon as I go back to it, I'm like, well, what the hell is right and wrong, and why am I looking at it? So it's like, no, I'm just going to keep on, because ultimately,
I mean,
the stuff that people tell us ain't real.
I teach more like Desikachar. My preference, and I've noticed this during COVID, I started doing private one-on-one trainings. I like them better. And the reason I like them better is because I can focus on the one student. I can kind of meet them where they're at and give them the information to kind of fill in the gaps to help them build the kind of practice that they want, or help the clients with the certain issues that they're looking for. When I teach 12 students in a group class, I have to shoot to the middle. A student in a class recently was like, well, I want to know about the theory. And I'm like, all right, so all we really do is stretch skin. And when you stretch skin, you're accessing cutaneous and subcutaneous nerves so that we're driving a unique stimulus into the client's nervous system, hoping that they respond with pain relief and relaxation. Mm-hmm. And then once she was like, I went, we don't really work on muscles. Stretches skin.
Yeah.
And I left it alone because I'm in a group class and we can't go more deeply into it. And here's the deal. Even if I could teach it, do the students want to sit down with me for 6 hours and have me lecture about pain science and break out, here's your ulnar nerve and your radial nerve and this nerve and that nerve? We taught that in massage school?
Basically, yeah. It was. My school was a little hybridized between science and spirit, like almost well balanced. It was weird. It wasn't really that.
Students get angry at me if I start to talk about that shit in class. They're like,
yeah,
no, we were taught musculoskeletal anatomy, which is important. Now, if the nervous system is primary, why don't we study the nerves? No, but I'm working on their bicep. I'm like, really? I don't know if I've ever worked on a bicep because I just worked through the skin.
I'm sorry, you're having a conversation with a massage therapist about this to teach the class? And these are massage therapists learning your skills.
So they're coming along to take a CE class.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay.
And I'm like, we call it continuing education for a reason.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it's almost like physics. It's like Newtonian, and then it gets quantum to the point where you're dealing with like the movement of particles and galaxies. When you look at this shit, it's like the Newton, it doesn't fit anymore. Not because this is wrong, but because you're looking at a different level. It's like, do I think the bicep? Yeah, no, the bicep's a muscle. Like we understand that, but like the biceps firing and relaxing, because a muscle is just contractile tissue. It contracts and relaxes. It does what the nervous system tells it to do. So why don't we study the nervous system? And they're like, no. Like, Robert, my whole identity is built up in the fact that you went to massage school and you're a massage therapist who got a massage license to do massage. And I go again, what is massage? I drive a unique stimulus into my clients to help them with pain relief and relaxation because the nervous system is primary. And they're like, no, you keep changing it. And it's like, no, you're not understanding. I have to give you both. If we're going to understand how the world works, we have to understand Newtonian, but we also have to understand the movement of galaxies and particles. There's a reason relativity theory and special relativity, and they keep testing it, and Einstein keeps being correct. It's like, because he had a very deep insight about the nature of the universe, and like, well, space-time is curved. They're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that, and it's all on the perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's so that. Oh man. All I'm trying to do is get them to work on a mat. And they're like, I don't understand, but this isn't what I was taught in school. And I'm like, listen, I don't do anything I was fucking taught in school, from almost massage school to like public education. It's like, listen, guys, I got a fucking F in American history. Do you know how many books and how many documentaries and shit I watch about American history and realize I wasn't taught anything about a fucking American history in high school? It was lies. They gave you a completely fucking whitewashed version of what America is. It's like, if they tell the truth, the whole system collapses. Good God.
Sometimes they won't even bring the fact that's in the light already to support their foundation. They won't even use the information that was made for them to understand. I mean, especially in Florida for some reason, they seem to have this fantasy life of fun friends and family, and that there's nobody's doing any harm to each other. But meanwhile, we know what Florida is. We know what happens here. There's blood, there's guts, there's freaking nature, there's destruction, there's life, there's growth, there's expansion. But all they see it as how I look based on what I think I know. That's how this state thinks. And I'm starting to think that as long as they think like that, it won't matter what comes out of the woodwork as far as an insight, like Thai massage, for instance, being in the workplace. Mm. I mean, that alone right there needs to happen because people need to really learn to not be so on guard at work.
Well, I'm getting, man, I feel like the work I'm teaching solves a million problems in our industry. And I had a meeting with Amanda yesterday, and Kristen had a Thai massage jam. Amanda was there and a host of other students. And it was weird. We had a lot of therapists show up, which is kind of unusual for our jams. Historically, our jams have been attended more by the public than the therapists. And these 3 or 4 therapists sat around me and were asking me questions. Are you ready? Not about technique. They were basically going, okay, this is good. This works. This seems easier on my body. And then they come to me and they're like, how the hell do we sell this? And I'm like, all right. What do you charge for 90 minutes? And they're like, $100. I'm like, cool. Give the client a 90-minute session on the mat for the hour table fee. You're gonna, all the client hears is you got 30 free minutes. Set up a Thai day. Give the client the mat work, and just start transitioning to clients. You got to practice. When I talked to Amanda yesterday, she had some deeper questions, and she's searching. I can feel it as a teacher. She's trying to navigate. And for me, I've got options. Does she want a CE class? Does she want some group CE classes? Does she want some private training? Does she want apprenticeship? Does she want a suspension master class? Does she need some workbooks and DVDs or the membership or, whatever? And I'm trying to meet her where she's at, and here's where she perked up. I mentioned, and not because I'm doing this, but because my insight tells me this would solve the problem. If I just opened a brick and mortar and gave her a job, problem solved.
Oh, for her? But regulation is making it hard.
No, the regulation, well, no, not really. The problem is I am fighting tooth and nail to avoid brick and mortar. If I opened a place, I could hire 10 therapists tomorrow who would basically do whatever I said because they want me to pay the rent and me to clean the bathroom and me to set up the scheduler and me to run the ads and meet and have the insurance and meet it. It's like, dude, it would cost $5,000 a month for the rent.
Yeah.
It's like now I'm in a remarkably different business. I had a problem with my cameras last night. I spent about 90 minutes messing with it. Got frustrated, gave it up. Robert, leave it alone. It ain't the first time you had a camera problem, it ain't the last time. I got it this morning. It was 8:30. I started messing with cameras for another hour. Are you ready? Until I realized, for some reason, my power cable, because I have a plug for my camera, it's not just a battery. I turned the camera around, and it said there was some sort of malfunction with the battery cable. But here's the deal. A battery cable might cost me $20. What happens when there's a problem with the brick and mortar?
And pieces start falling apart.
And the $3,000 to $5,000 is still due every month. It's
yeah,
like,
that didn't break.
On a scale of problems, I can deal with a cable. And this is the thing. I have mentors and friends and colleagues and people I go to for business help. And fundamentally what we're doing is, listen, if you think within any stretch of the imagination that you can teach online and continue to scale up your membership, don't open a brick and mortar. It's come up again and again and again and again. Amanda just knows, man, but if you just opened a brick and mortar, you could just give me a job and then just train me. And I'm like, yes, but it puts me in a position where, do you prefer being called Antoine, by the way?
Either one really is equally just fine.
If I had a place and I hired you, I don't want to take 50% from you.
Okay.
I want you to keep 100%.
That was what I was going to say.
And they're like, no, but it's like, but because they want, like they want me to take 10%. And I'm like, guys, you're not understanding brick and mortar business overhead. I'm like, listen, you just went to school. It probably cost $10,000 for you to go through 500 hours of training. There's 1,000 hours of training at my school. And it's $7 a month. You could study with me for 100 years at the same fee. And they're like, no, but we want hands-on. And once they start doing this, I'm like, dude.
It's all about the physical and the muscles and that's it.
No. So, you have to understand, like, I had Amanda into my studio for free. She needed help, and I'm like, yeah, I want to help. Like, if I limit it, she's going to get less help, and I'm not going to understand the teaching and marketing and sales process. She wants some help. She's now looking at, like, apprenticeship and splitting it with somebody to reduce the fee, and she only lives 30 minutes from me. She's in a great spot. You can't come get a session unless you fly in from Florida. It's like, I keep doing this, and I'm like, guys, I know you want hands-on, but you have to understand. Let's look at it this way. Do I want to help more people or less? And they're like, well, more. I'm like, cool. So why don't you just let me teach 10,000 people a day for $7 a month? I'll teach you 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year. And they're like, no, but we want hands-on. And I'm like, cool, so pay to fly to Austin. And they're like, no, it's expensive. And I'm like, you're not giving me a lot of outs here. I'm not holding back. I just need enough. And it's like, listen, if there are 3,000 massage therapists in Austin and there are 297,000 therapists in the rest of the United States, why do I only want to help these 3,000?
Yeah.
Why don't I help all 300,000? And they're like, no, but we want hands-on. I'm like, cool, come to the Thai Massage Jam. And they're like, no, but we want a CE class. And I'm like, what is CE?
CE.
Because here's what it is. They want it. Are you ready? Because they think we're not talking about Krishnamurti now. They want external validation through certification and licensure, and because mommy and daddy told them it was a good idea.
Yeah.
And it's like when you have to listen to your teachers and listen to your religious leaders and listen to the politicians and listen to the authority figures, you take away your personal responsibility.
which means they haven't integrated. Is there so much to it, Rob? There's so much to it because it's not just healers, it's not just the therapist, it's not just practitioners. It really isn't. There is something seriously disconnected, and I'm starting to think it's not about what we're offering anymore. There's something that's saying it's starting to be. It's almost like, I hate to say it because it sounds so basic and YouTubey, but like I think the object is to base everything around the problem, and that's why they're not. Their problem is that somebody doesn't think of them as a successful person, and those seem to be the people that keep saying no and questioning what you're doing, dude. Because I've been getting the same responses just from self-awareness alone, and we're supposed to have that as humans.
Well,
and they're like, "Not massage." Oh.
You have to give them external validation. And this is the thing. A friend of mine works as a manager at a local spa. I think she's an esthetician by trade, but she had a background in human resources. So she got a job at this spa where she hires, this is her main gig, hiring and managing massage therapists. You think she has any problems with massage therapists? Yes.
Probably not.
And I...
Oh, yes, you did? Oh.
Well, she... In other words, her job is to hire, fire, and manage massage therapists.
Yeah, I see.
As a teacher, am doing my best to avoid hiring, firing, and managing massage therapists. I went, no. I've even told her, I'm like, listen, if I ever open a brick and mortar, I'll hire you. I'll hire you to because I can train them, but managing? Oh.
Yeah.
You have to give the students external validation. You have to give them permission. You have to give them a certification. You have to give them CE credit. Like, I was in a class recently, and I taught the next level pain relief curriculum for the first time. This is almost me reteaching the shit I've been reteaching for 14 years because, you remember I said I didn't have to take a note in college? Guess what my 700 pages of sequence manuals and 9 DVDs did? It assumed the students were like me. Well, it's only 700 pages and 9 DVDs. That's just to get started. Yeah. It's too long, Robert. You're overwhelming the students. Shorter, more concise, like 10-step protocol. As soon as I teach it, Kristen is like, "Fuck, it's so boring. It's so repetitive," and I'm like, "It's perfect." And she's like, "But it's boring. You're not even remotely showing them." I'm like, "No." This is the conversation I have to have in our fucking industry, okay? Not only do students think they can't solve a soft tissue pain management problem for the clients, they think it's outside of our scope of practice. And I go, guys, you don't think you can deliver a sequence to help people with upper back and neck pain? And then they're like, no, it's like you're diagnosing and treating conditions. And I'm like, no, I'm offering soft tissue pain management services. Now, when they take a Thai massage class, it's too long. When I say, no, hold on. Upper body and lower body relaxation, table and mat. Upper back and neck pain, lower back and hip pain, table and mat. Same class, 2 days. First day is table, second day is mat. We did that, and I went through at the end, because of the last session is probably upper back and neck pain on a mat. We'd gone through the whole class. We're now in the last sequence. They're trading. I go, what's easier for the upper body relaxation, table or mat? Mat. What's easier for lower body relaxation, table or mat? Mat. What's better for low back? Mat. What's better for up? Mat. And I go, cool, so why do we still work on tables?
Yeah.
Because I have to force them to understand, no, hold on. Like the degree of regimentation. Because it's not just to teach Antoine or Antoine teach me. It's like massive numbers of students. One, give them certification and whatever external validation. Guys, when the client comes in with upper back and neck pain, 80% of the time, on 80% of the clients, I want you to apply this 10-step sequence. I will end class, and I just did this twice, by the way. I did it in the next level pain relief class, and I did it in the table tie class. Again, they didn't know I was teaching the new curriculum, but that's what I did. Because the new curriculum isn't really new. The new curriculum is just repackaged. I go, all right, you have pain in your upper back and neck? Yes. Cool. 10's hospital, 0's no pain. Where are you at? They're like, I'm at a 6. Well, you have upper back and neck pain. It's at a 6. Yes. I work on them, and in 5 minutes, I go, stand up, walk around. What's your upper back pain now? And they're like, it's gone. And I'm like, you went from a 6 to a 0? And they're like, yeah, like it doesn't hurt at all. And I go, cool, class dismissed. Took 5 minutes.
Yeah. But so, Rob, check it out.
The students don't look at what we just did as success, Antoine.
That result?
Yes.
See, there needs to be a way to measure that they can understand, and they're not getting it.
They did. They were at a 6, and now they're at a fucking 0.
I know.
Are they taught in school that we deal with pain management?
No, because that's a industry in some way. My best friend is kind of, she pulled herself out, but massage was the thing that let her know that they didn't know what the hell they were doing. So we can't even call ourselves pain management because they fucked up the name so bad.
if the students kind of like look at each other for like, did I do okay? And I'm like, you just solved the fucking problem. Like, if I'm a mechanic and I bring my car in and the guy like kicks a tire and says, it's your power steering, and he comes in 5 minutes, he changes the power steering pump, he fixed it. Do I care that he didn't take 4 hours to do it? They don't look at body work the same way at all. And here's one of the things. Remember I said I like teaching one-on-one?
Yeah.
Here's the downside to teaching one-on-one. They don't get the same external validation from other massage therapists. Massage therapists want group classes so they can look at other massage therapists and say, look at us. Look at how much winners we are. Look at how great and smart we are as massage therapists.
Yeah, that's why every single content strategy on social media looks weird with massage to me.
Oh, dude, the massage industry doesn't even feel like I'm talking to the same species most times. The massage community and its business dealings just feels like removed from the rest of the world sometimes in a way that I just can't. And you have to understand, I went to massage school, but I went to massage school because I had a chronic pain problem. Like, I was medical from day one. Like, I got to get better. If I can help my clients get better, then everything works, right? And the whole way... No, don't get me wrong. I did fine in school. The teachers and the other students liked me just fine. But like when it came to jobs, spas were like, man, this guy's not. He's not conforming.
Yeah.
You mean to a profoundly sick society?
Well, think about conforming and what it behaviorally takes. Like how we physically conform to something on the outside. Like. In some ways, as long as we're not speaking to it, that conformity, wouldn't that be just listening? You know? Like, it almost feels like without speaking about the conformity being existent, all it really is just one-on-one listening. Somebody is sitting there talking, and like, I mean, even now, you're conforming to the fact that you need to talk, and I'm conforming to the fact that I'm listening, and we're interchanging. Some people can't interchange from that interface that they're working on. And so when some information comes in, who knows what kind of person, or maybe they're a person that's like us, always trying to make sure somebody understands. Well, they're not going to be able to accept education, let alone somebody telling them, let's call it the truth. Let's call it the way that they ask to learn. But if they need the validation, then there's some fundamental that they're missing that we're not asking about. It really is. Because I think the classrooms, they're not as up to par as everybody thinks.
And I teach privately. I have my own studio. I can have small classes. if we teach at a local school, there's more external validation.
More?
The school is the authority figure. The school is a prestigious facility. If they're hosting my class, then apparently my class is more important. How much external validation does my teaching online via the internet from a membership platform? It gives students almost no external validation. I'm playing a different game going, why don't you just go solve a problem? I'm showing you how for $7 a month. And they're like, no, but I need, you need external validation so that daddy can tell you you're a good boy or girl and that you've done a good job. And to give clarity, in the next level pain relief class, there was a point, this is the first time I've taught it. I'm looking at these things, trying to understand people. And I said, guys, I want you to know you are the first students to take this class in person. And they're like, oh, you mean we're number one? And I'm like, you're number one. And they all cheered. Now, why do they care that they are number one?
Everybody's there watching them be number one together. It's just a validation.
Like it's just like a gold star, man. Like there's just something. Like I personally am an autodidact who can self-teach, who relies on internal validation, which means, well, I solved the problem and I grew and I developed and I'm smoking meats. I did a couple chuck roasts yesterday and some burgers, and instead of grilling the burgers, I was like, I want to smoke them, which means lower temperature, longer duration. My girlfriend looked at them and she's like, why are they red? And it's like they came out of the fridge and something happens to the proteins in the reaction with smoke and temperature, where you know how brisket will get smoke ring? Yeah. Those smoke rings are more pronounced when the brisket is cold. There's something that happens with the reaction with the smoke and temperature where it makes a different color. The burgers were the best ones I'd ever made. And it's like they were a little more smoky and they had a slightly different flavor and the texture was different because it was a lower temperature. Nobody had to tell me that. I have internal validation. Like I'm like testing the edges and tweaking because I self-teach and I deal with internal validation. The problem with that, and everybody's different. Everybody's different. It's just like a different learning style. Some students will just say they're hands-on. I'm not fighting a hands-on learning style, but a hands-on learning style really is detrimental to students in terms of time and money because it's going to take more time and it's certainly going to be more expensive to come train in person. When I talk to Amanda, basically what happens is I'm trying to solve a business problem for her. And I have some crafty ideas.
Yeah.
But I have to be crafty because she was concerned about the fee for like the training. The students never look at it like, okay, but if I do this, I'll make more money.
Yeah, they're not adding the multiplier.
Yeah, and this is the if, right? If I'm teaching you something and you can make more money, then it pays for itself. Then it just continues. The problem is, it's not the body work. The reason my business has gotten to the point it's at is because I worked with fucking power supply cables on cameras. Not because of my body work. It's because, like, I don't have to make a podcast on October 26th of 2024 about Krishnamurti with Antoine to supplement my business. But I do because I'm continuing to document. I recorded everything I just cooked, by the way. I have a cooking show. What the fuck does a cooking show have to do with my business?
Can I answer? Because as long as people are alive on the table or mat, we won't be able to see the way meat behaves. We won't be able to see how muscle lives and exists. I mean, we're using eyeballs in our fingers for a long time, or the vibrations from the other person's body. We feel that. But in order to really grasp it, you have to put your hands on some nasty pink meat and make it move, make it change, make it transform. That's my answer.
The students, apprentices, people I work with, don't have a bodywork problem. They have a business problem. And they're like, no, but can you just open a place and solve the business stuff for me? And I'm like, ugh. We'll see how this goes, but it's like I want to assist in any way I can to help students build, but I have to do so in a way that's sustainable.
Okay, so Rob, say that student comes up to you, let's just say it's a he, okay? Let's just say it's a male, okay? And let's just say, normal. They're normal. They just want to develop a decent career to live on. So if they come up to you and say that he doesn't think that learning more is going to cause that shift, what do you tell them at that point? Like, how do you go into when the person knows that the body work isn't the problem, that they, like, do people come up to you and ask to help fix their business problems with massage or Thai?
For the most part, no. They don't. Wow. Okay. Students come in and they want to apply magical techniques. So I keep giving them magical techniques. This is how you solve this problem. This is how you solve that problem. Why can students not apply it and get the same results that I get? I'm not magic.
No.
It's because I work with power cables on cameras for 2.5 hours for no pay.
Yeah. Your why is a lot more expensive than theirs. Well, not even in comparison, but they haven't thought deeply enough on it.
If I posted an email through my list, and the Time Massage Jam after COVID is regrowing. People are wanting to sign up for Time Massage Jam, to run Time Massage Jam. I sent out an email and it listed our chapters in various cities and states. And the next day I get an email from a student who's like, hey, I'm in somewhere in Pensacola, I think. They're like, I want to run a Time Massage Jam here. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Let me answer them when I can. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I have a vested interest. There's a reason I have a trademark for the Time Massage Jam, and I continue to foster the Time Massage Jam. Why do the students need a community bodywork event called Time Massage Jam? They can just make their own event.
Right. So, what is it?
Because it's easier to, like, work with me and have me help solve a business problem. And we're working on this, if I give them T-shirts, Time Massage Jam, if I give them stickers, if I give them instructional materials to teach so they feel more confident, if I give their jam attendees a small partner massage class as training materials, I'm providing a structure and support that feeds their sense of external validation. Because
vanity metrics.
They don't want to... Say it again?
Vanity metrics? That's what I've heard it being called in digital marketing world. Vanity metrics.
Yeah. Like, if all these other people are doing it successfully, that's what I want to do. It's like, if you have... And we're not there yet, but if you had 1,000 people across the United States doing this shit, filming it at scale to the level I do, what would happen to the massage industry?
Well, they would definitely try to sabotage it, right? Or at least get in the way of the flow.
I mean, yeah, some, maybe. What I suspect would happen is, instead of it being one weird guy in Austin, it's like now it's Kristen. Oh, well, we like Kristen. Robert's a little abrasive and weird. We'll be like Kristen. And then it's like 6 other people, 10 other people, 20 other people running Time Massage Jams all over Austin. Now what do massage facilities think? Man, we got to get in on this. This looks like there's money here. And I go, yeah, I know somebody who can provide training. for the mat-based bodywork you've been ignoring for the last 14 years. Because it's being one person isn't a movement. People want, especially in the massage industry, they want the safety and security of, like, I hate to say this, feeling like a renegade and a rebel while having the safety and security of doing what everybody else is doing. Right now, my work is still fringe enough that it's like, it's too crazy, it's too extreme. I'm like, guys, we're working on a mat. This isn't new. This isn't extreme. It's just a little different. Now, when massage therapists see Kristen, Samantha, Tammy, Myra, like all these people running jams in Austin and winning, what does it look like the winners do?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to fight human behavior. I'm trying to embrace it. I want to keep teaching and keep sharing, but in my opinion, the reason I do these sorts of talks with you in a podcast form is to, like, take some pressure off from the self-expression that I can't deal with in class because you have to keep them on the same page, where all 12 of them have to know the sequence and know how to apply it for upper back and neck pain. When Kristen goes, well, this is boring. Like, this is too repetitive. I'm like, Kristen, you're advanced now. Oh, Kristen totally lights up. Why? Because the teacher told her she's advanced, and that's what she's been wanting for 6 years. Is she wants me to tell her she's now advanced, and it's like, I don't know how to say this. Because I don't deal with external validation, I frankly just don't give a shit what people think about me, and it makes other people uncomfortable because most people deal with external validation. When somebody doesn't like them, that's very upsetting. When somebody calls them names, that's very upsetting. When somebody doesn't like me, that's just another day on earth for Robert. Yeah. Like, if I went around doing what everybody else did, I'd be fucking sticking needles in my arm under a freeway overpass. Like, I wouldn't have survived. So it's just that it's different. That's all. Students want a safe path to more success. Amanda is fresh out of school. She got out in like January. She's looking at it as a mom with 4 kids. Her youngest, I think, is 6. So she's really trying to look at job options. She loves the massage. She wants to help people, but, like, she's looking at me like, how do I do this? And I'm like, okay, I'm talking to her because I'm trying to find out where she is at. For some students, that answer is just the membership. For other students, it's apprenticeship and working with me one-on-one. For her, it looks like 2 people, including her. She wants to trade off with another student, split the fee, and work with me one-on-one for, a 6-month duration. And I'm like, sure, great. I'm just trying to provide what the students need so that there's a more safe, more comfortable path to get them to the mat. She knows if I go work for somebody else, I'm going to do the table work that's causing my hand pain. If I go work for somebody else, I'm not going to make as much money as I will working in private practice. And I'm like, listen, Amanda, I've got some crafty ideas about how we're going to get you clients. And here's the thing. Everything I've been teaching, all this stuff for all these years, 14 years, next level pain relief, Thai massage, whatever. What would happen if I could go back to the beginning? And every time I taught students, they got clients. Their business grew.
Well, they wouldn't be fighting anything. They wouldn't even complain.
They have a business problem. Because the feedback loop, the external validation is like, people want this. Kristen said this in a class. She's like, well, I just want to give them what they want. And I was like, Kristen, if we gave students what they want, we'd show them table work. Aww. But,
wow.
And I'm like, Kristen, therapist, why? Why does a therapist want to go through the trouble of changing their entire fucking practice to a mat? Why? Kristen, does any major franchise in the United States want therapists to work on a fucking mat? No. Are clients beating down people's fucking doors saying, I want to work on the mat? So why do they want to offer it? Oh, but I just want to give them what they want. And I'm like, Kristen, students want to sit on their ass and watch 20 hours of Netflix a week. If we can figure out how to create a situation where they can watch 20 hours of fucking Netflix a week and entertain themselves and build successful businesses, they'll do it. Who doesn't want quick, easy, accessible, you know what I'm saying? Like, of course that's what they want, but it's like...
Well, here's something right here, Rob. Check this out. And if that's your response to them saying, I want to give them what they want. Well, most times, I mean, let's just say they're a massage therapist right out of school. They're not going to truly know what clients want. All they're going to pretty much know is what clinical clients want, which is to get a low, cheap massage. And so they move out of that school zone, which they have to, in order to understand anything more about running it, clients. And they get to the point where they stop asking questions about what they want. Only how am I doing? Or how am I making you feel? I mean, I'm talking about every time you ask somebody about a massage, like you didn't bring up once about any clients that you've worked on that you thought really enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Like, and then people make us tell these stories, and it's like, no, we don't care about that. I think I'm starting to see a pattern, just including everything you're saying, because it's starting to look like the people who did not take that road for a career or prosperity or anything like that, the people who didn't do that, they got the most out of it and probably are the ones that are supposed to be spreading it. Because the career thing, there's the construct again. It's hire, fire, massage therapist. It's $26 at Massage Envy when the whole massage or whatever they get, it's just, oh no, you get $26. I mean, as a whole.
If you craft Next Level Pain Relief, NLPR, if you craft the brand, and everybody who does NLPR wins, and everybody who does NLPR is successful, and everybody who does NLPR takes vacations, and everybody who does NLPR just Fred Astaire's Gina Rogers into the room dancing. Once you reach a certain critical mass, there's external validation and everybody wants to do it. How many people want to listen to Robert Gardner with a crazy Band-Aid on his head talk about Jiddu Krishnamurti and the nervous system? They're like, this guy got to go. This shit is, I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about. There's a reason that Krishnamurti is not mainstream popularity.
Yeah,
how much external validation does it provide?
Really just comparisons to help the simpler thinking think.
Yeah. The goal, fundamentally, I had a conversation with ChatGPT about this. Somebody wrote something and they said, anytime I talk to somebody and they say something about ChatGPT or they had a conversation with ChatGPT, they were mocking it. And I'm like, oh, dude. So this is me personally. The business conversations I have with ChatGPT are probably some of the best conversations I have with anyone about business. And I think this is why. One, it's pulling from a nearly inexhaustible resource of information called the internet. And two, it has no feelings. ChatGPT doesn't feel a thing. ChatGPT says, Robert, you are an autodidact who deals with internal validation. Your students want external validation, which means that they need licenses and structure and repetition and certifications to be able to provide them the external validation. But because you are an autodidact who deals with internal validation, you have increasing layers of insight above the students. And if you structure curriculum correctly, providing external validation to the students, you can give them the stepping stones to get where you are. ChatGPT, a fucking AI, just took my problem and turned it into a solution and said, no. It's just that people learn in different ways. Humans are social creatures. Do massage therapists see somebody raising a ruckus and say, I want to do that? No. They say, well, none of these facilities provide mat work, so mat work apparently isn't effective. I mean, the public would be asking for it, right? And it's like, guys, mat work is 0.1% of our industry. There is no like facility. So for me, part of the process as a teacher is it doesn't matter that the information's in my brain. It matters I can pass on the information to students and that they can use it in a way. And I have one complete like ace up my sleeve, and it's working with power cables for 3 hours. Online curriculum allows me to tweak it, change it, streamline it, make it perfect. And I go, listen, if they have upper back and neck pain and you're working on a table, I want you to do this sequence. It's going to take about 10 minutes if you do both sides. What? I'm like, I know you went to massage school. I know this is going to seem a little different. Please do this sequence on a table with the client completely clothed. But my clients but I'm doing massage. I'm like, hold on. Does the client have upper back and neck pain? Yeah. Tell the client, listen, take off your shoes, lay down on the table just like you are. Are you having more problems on this right side? Yeah. How did you know that? Okay, go ahead and lay down on your left side. I want to work on you. I want to move you around to see where we're going to work. 5 minutes on this side, 5 minutes on the other side. Now ask the client to stand up, walk around, and tell you how they feel. Oh my God, my back pain is gone. And I go, it took 10 minutes.
Robert, I'm observing something about you, man. I didn't think there were too many people like this, but I don't know. I just thought it was my call.
Wait, say that again. It started to garble for a second. What did you say?
I was basically, I thought it was just an intuitive calling, but it's starting to seem like there's not many healers for healers, and therapists for therapists. There's not much of that, and it's pretty much where we as outside thinkers that have been therapeutically taught. It's kind of up to us to bridge something. And I think it's the gap between the healer, and you figured that out. And I don't know how the context of what information they need from us, but there is something of healers that we are supposed to be healing as healers, for healers. The
industry, okay, one of my axes to grind is massage therapists on the whole have not supported what I'm doing. They're like, no, you're removing our validation. You're saying that licenses don't matter. You're saying that certifications don't matter. You're saying, and it's like, no, but I'm a massage therapist. I spent all this money going to school, and I'm like, listen, I did too. I don't use any of that shit. The anatomy and physiology, kinesiology. I had a student in Arkansas. I felt so seen. She asked like 3 questions in a row. I was just like, oh my God, 3 questions in a row. This is my student. Like 3 questions in a row. Oh my God, I want to sit and have like 9 hour teaching. She was like, yo, I just got out of school like a year ago. She's like, and this was on a table. She was like, dude, you kept the anatomy and physiology, kinesiology, but the techniques, dude, it's like you threw everything I learned from school out the window. And I'm like, wow, I feel very seen. But here's the deal. Is it effective for pain? Yes. Is it effortless on your body? Yes. And I'm like, cool. So why don't we do next level pain relief? And they're like,
yeah.
So being rejected by massage therapists doesn't just hurt my feelings. It makes it harder for me to build the movement that I really want to build. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X were doing things that were going to upset people, both black and white. But they had to be able to craft a movement in some form that fed people's sense of like righteous indignation about civil rights issues in the United States. Martin Luther King Jr. in some ways appealed to human virtues, not just black or white virtues. There were white people who walked in rallies and said, these are people. Why are you treating them this way? just because they have more melanin in their skin. Like, this is not fair. This is wrong. Like, but you have to build a movement. Otherwise, it's just one guy, like, preaching to the choir, if you will.
Yeah.
The industry pushing back is because of a piece of that external validation, okay? But can you craft a brand where the therapists go, no. This massage is fine, but we want this next level work. Like, massage therapists are fine and massage envy is fine, but these next level people, these people are not fucking around. If you're a boss babe, it's next level. If you're a bad motherfucker, it's next level. If you know, it's like if you craft it and everything about next level pain relief says I'm a winner, you get more and more students, and with more and more students, they get more and more external validation. One of the things I figured out recently, I think because of this conversation, I used to teach group classes. That was one of my main bread and butters here in Austin. And then I started teaching one-on-one during COVID. I continued that process a little bit more with one-on-one teaching, but here's the problem. I can deliver information faster, but here's what the students don't get. They actually prefer large group classes because they want to see other people like them who are winning going, look at us, we're all winners. Look at us, we're the elite therapists getting the CE credit taking the next level pain relief class. If they see more and more therapists doing that work and winning, what do they want to do?
Match it up. And
everything I teach has more ears and voices. It's no longer resisted as an outlier. It's like, hold on, this guy was onto something. This is a better solution to the problem if you want to help people out of pain.
Yeah. So do you think there might be a gap in the mission orientation that they have, or are they just all about money and making money happen in their pocket?
No, so this is something I think, and I think this gets confused constantly. I got divorced, and there was a sense with my ex-wife and my roommate that, like, I was the onceler. I was willing to just cut down all the truffula trees to make profit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, are you fucking out of your mind? Like, hold on. This isn't just about money. It's like Martin Luther King, it might have been when he won the Nobel Peace Prize. He won like $300,000 or something when he won the Nobel Peace Prize. And he dedicated all of that money, even though his family probably needed it, he dedicated all that money to some civil rights group or action or something.
Yeah.
The money is just like a fuel to keep pushing things forward. The civil rights movement happened because of money. Like, money is just a tool to, like, be moved around. It's not about money. Money is not the only way that I keep score. Do I want more money, or do I want 1,000? Like, when I say dedicated, I'm talking about spiritual, religious fervor. Do I want 1,000 students with that dedication? If you said, Robert, I'll give you $10 million right now, or 1,000 students with that dedication and fervor, I'm like, oh, no questions. I need 10,000.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to make hundreds of millions of dollars. Watch. 1,000 students making a video a day is 365,000 videos a year. The massage industry looks like mat-based bodywork. It's not just about money. Massage therapists, do they want to pay their bills? And yes. Massage therapists want to be healers who connect with people.
Yes.
And I keep telling them, listen, if you run good businesses, you're going to be able to heal and connect with more people. No, but I want the magic of this one-on-one. I'm like, no, don't get me wrong. You need to see clients and you need to work one-on-one. I understand that. But where do the clients come from? Fundamentally, I don't think it's a bodywork problem. Fundamentally, most of the massage therapists I talk to have a business problem. I'm getting ready to run Relief Clinic out of my studio. Essentially, I'm having to give free work away. Why, if I've been working at it for 14 years, why am I still giving away free work?
Long-term value. I mean, that's the only reason I would see it like that. What is it?
Well, in Austin, the city I live in, there's 2.6 million people in the greater Austin area. How many people know about me?
Not all of them. 10,000?
And it's a guess. It's like,
oh,
and even if it's 10,000, okay, how many of those 10,000 are clients or students?
Isn't it like 1% or 2% or something like that?
Something crazy.
Some
I'm also doing this thing where I'm working with Kristen to run the Relief Clinic because we're both working together side by side on 2 suspensions to work on the clients at the same time to replicate what a brick and mortar does without having to worry about brick and mortar fees and advertising and stuff like that. I'm not even charging. Right. I'm just bringing people in to say, hey, here's the future of bodywork. You have an upper back problem? I have 45 minutes. You have a low back and hip problem? I have 45 minutes. You have knee pain? I have 45 minutes. Now, how many times do we have to do that? And I take Amanda, who signs up for apprenticeship. I bring her in for the Relief Clinic, and I'm using it not just the 3 hours. Now she's coming in and working. I'm going to teach her upper back and neck pain. She's going to apply it 20 times to 20 different clients in a row until that sequence is just grilled into her nervous system. Now she wins because if she works on 4 people in a row, she only has to get one of those persons each time she does it, 25%. She only has to get one person to sign up for a session, and her training is paid for.
Basically, it's all pretty much calculating profit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, fundamentally, the money isn't why therapists do what they do. It's not why I do what I do. They want to help people.
Yeah.
They want to be healers and have there's a reason they don't just get a job as an accountant because they're not excited about it. It doesn't move them. 85% of massage therapists are women. They want to help people. They want to nurture people. They want to support people in their growth and well-being and make them feel better. That is something that we're providing, but the business side is, I think, what's lacking. And also, when you're selling something different, you have to promote it. But why do customers want this? I think if you bring enough people in and you get enough Google reviews and you bring enough people and I get the students' clients, oh my God, everything changes, because if you structure it just enough so that they're getting that sort of external validation, like what do people think about my business when they see a better website?
Yeah, it's more trustworthy for some reason.
More videos.
Yeah. More more trust, yeah.
Better podcast. Thai Massage Jam website. Next Level Pain Relief website. Ongoing growth. Advertising. Membership. All those things build and build and build into their sense of external validation. The general theme is this. If I can create a business that a student can come in and train and just plugs in and they make more money, it solves every problem I've ever had. The students will listen to things because there is a vested fiscal interest in them processing, well, it worked for all these people, so it'll apparently work for me.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right on a lot of levels right now because, even in my everyday financial management part of my life, the people I have to deal with in this house, there's some sort of fiscal, what did you call it? Fiscal, what did you say the words were? Fiscal, trust? Is that what you said?
I don't remember exactly.
It's okay. You were flowing, man. I felt that so much because, basically, somebody really does have to take a different engagement level when there is a connection to their their financial well-being. You know what I mean? Let me put it like that just to make it clear.
The fire on all cylinders is not just helping massage therapists heal people. It's when massage therapists figure out that they can heal people, quote unquote, and get rich in the process. If I can give that to students, they will never question what I teach ever again. They're just like, I want more, I want more, I want more. And I go, good. Dude, I talk to people, they're wanting to teach. And I talk to them, oh God. So I had a conversation with a student about this, and she went, what? And I went, well, Penny, listen, if you like what I'm doing and you want to run a Thai massage jam, do you eventually want to get to the point where you're teaching? And she's like, well, yeah, maybe. And I'm like, cool, I'll give you 100% of your class revenue. Wait, what?
If she teaches the NLPR.
Like, I don't understand. How are you giving me 100%? I'm like, Penny, you're going to be recording your class from 4 camera angles, and your video is going in my membership vault. Oh, shit.
As an instructor.
Oh, my God. Dude, what the fuck are you doing? Jesus. Oh, my God. Dude, you're like an anarchist. Oh, my God. And here's what happens. If Kristen plugs in and teaches a class and makes 100% of her class revenue, why is she going to leave? She won't.
Yeah, they're used to seeing things done a certain way. Even mobile massage, for instance. Mobile massage, if for some reason the remote aspect don't seem to, it's not that solid. Like, I don't know, maybe they're too vertical. I don't know. But, like, just mobile massage alone just doesn't seem to hit it.
Well, when you say it doesn't hit it, do you mean to them mentally?
Yeah, like they still basically show up face to face.
External validation in its most brutal form is brick and mortar.
There's plenty of them here. I could tell you that right now. Every massage therapist I ran into in the state is like that.
They look at me and go, if this was a real business, you'd have a brick and mortar. And I go, I have a real business. It's on the internet. And they're like, no, like a real school. And I'm like, I have a real school. It's on the internet. And they're like, no. External validation for massage therapists is very big. Brick and mortar. Brick and mortar. Students in a class, they were like, I don't understand. Why don't you open a brick and mortar? I'm like, why do you want me to open a brick and mortar? And they're like, well, I want you to give me a job. And I said, I'll open the brick and mortar when I can afford to buy the shopping center. What? That doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, okay, so I've got a membership online. We charge $7 a month. If I get 10,000 followers, it means I'll make $70,000 a month or $840,000 a year. When I have 10,000 members and I'm making $840,000 a year passive income, I can put down $200,000 as a down payment, buy the shopping center, and I charge 9 units slightly higher rent so that my unit is now free.
Yeah, and use that as a package, basically, like a whole package thing.
What do massage therapists know
about real estate?
What do massage therapists know about real estate?
If they could rent a studio to do table work, that's it.
Landlord.
Yep.
Assets.
Giving away power.
Assets over liabilities. And they're like, no, but all these other places, like, listen, I know all these other places do it. Those other people have different businesses and different dreams. I'm not against brick and mortar. How do I feel as an outlier? Like, I can't afford, I'm taking a much greater risk running a brick and mortar than I am running a business on the internet. If my business collapses, I have to commit, is it Chapter 11? Whatever bankruptcy is. It's like, okay, but that's from an online thing. I can just turn my software off. Yeah. If I don't have $3,000 to $5,000 a month and I get foreclosed on or whatever, or rent and kicked out, like, that's a bigger issue.
Yep.
The online piece of the business is scalable, and it's like, why would I want to charge students more than $7 a month? I don't need to. That's been a massive fight in my entire business. Everybody I've worked with is like, you got to raise the fee. 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 And I go, get me more members. We have no geographic boundaries. Get me more members. I don't care if 1,000 of them come from Tokyo. I will learn Japanese and I will fly there. What does it matter?
Take me with you. I'll learn with you if you want. That's my number one language.
Yeah. The whole issue is brick and mortar is I hate to say a rich person's game, but like I don't have the financial resources at the moment to deal with commercial real estate is what it amounts to. Yep. Teaching online was allowing me to scale the business in very crafty ways. And when I talk to potential students who want to teach and they're like, well, what's the business arrangement? I'm like, oh, I'll give you 100% of your class revenue. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, listen, we're going to have to get you a computer and software set up so you can fuck with camera angles and, fuck with cables for 3 hours like I did. But you're going to record your classes from 4 camera angles. Now, if I get 10 students, they're teaching their classes, they're keeping 100% of their class revenue. I'm not taking a cut. I get the footage. I get paid in footage. Guess what I do? I hire staff that's cutting clips of those videos, and Next Level Pain Relief looks like a fucking monster that's growing like a many-headed hydra. And there's 10, 20, 100 fucking students across the United States teaching this shit. And we start getting banned from Facebook massage groups because we release so much video, the rest of the industry can't compete. Close on. Mat-based. Scale. And
that's why this is why I think people don't go wide. They just stick in one lane. It's because they don't want, I guess they don't want too many different I guess they don't want 2 different angles coming at them at once. And it's for the most part, man, it's because they're looking at it from the norm, what's already expected. But say you got that therapist that actually had a feeling that digital marketing was way easier to manage a massage business than a brick and mortar. Because ultimately, eventually, a brick and mortar is important when the passivity of income happens, I think.
So it's like, okay, I have a partner that I work with, and we have debates for years. We've been working on this shit. And it's like, he knows I'm coming in through the back door. He's like, the rest of your industry doesn't see it. It's like, dude, you just got to keep tweaking and working at it. He's like, it'll make sense later. Am I worried in any way, shape, or form about competition?
No. I'm not. I don't even see it.
You can't just give them all the fucking footage. They're not going to take your class. And I'm like,
it's bad thinking.
Dude, you can't just give them the fucking suspension. They're going to steal it. And I'm like, how are they going to steal what I'm giving away for free in my membership vault?
Weird, right?
No, dude, but somebody's going to steal it. And I'm like, and set up mat-based facilities all across the United States doing suspension, and they find out they need training, and then a guy offers a membership for $7 a month, and they turn me into the Metallica of body workers?
Yeah, that's okay.
Like, listen, this is what I'm saying. When I look at the massage marketplace and education, I'm like, compete with me. And if you're going to compete with me, you're going to have to record every class from 4 camera angles and provide it to students for less than $7 a month.
Look, I'm probably still going to have to do that for any kind of course setup that I already have outlined. Like, it's still the same system, it's the same process. So I don't know, it's healing a business at that point, and people just won't get that.
So
they won't get that.
I started calling my online offers. I started calling it a membership instead of a subscription. Why do I call it a membership as opposed to a subscription?
Well, belonging.
Membership, like, deals with some sort of like, this is like, I'm involved. One.
Mm-hmm.
Do people get any status or prestige out of having a Netflix subscription?
When I think of subscription or the root word subscribe, I think of you're being written on a paper that nobody will ever see.
There's a weird thing where it's like a membership, which is what it is. It's just a different name. Like, they're still billed monthly for a membership, but now there's a notion that they're somehow engaged and involved as one of the members. You're one of our members. You know, like the status and prestige. Nobody has prestige because, like, I have Netflix. They're like, so what? Everybody's got Netflix. Who gives a shit? And they're like, no, I'm a member. Oh, you're a member? External validation.
Yeah.
They get something out of it. In the massage community, my decision to not run a brick and mortar really hurt that external validation. The problem is I just don't come from a socioeconomic bracket or a fiscal place to be able to afford real estate in Austin. It's like, it's just too expensive.
Clear cut.
I'm trying to get students to keep 100%, but here's the problem. I'm forcing them to run their own businesses. And they're like, no, I just want to do the healing stuff. Can you do that? And I'm like,
yep, that's it. That's the one.
Not in that way as of yet. Sorry. Like, I'm gonna try to streamline things as much as I can to assist you, but I can't as of yet do that. When I deal with Kristen, I'm like, Kristen, do I take a percentage of your clients? No. Kristen, do I take a percentage of your classes? No. So I'm like, Kristen, how do I make money? And she's like, I don't know.
So your last name is Gardner. It took me a while to really understand that word, but I figured it out. But so I call it the fruit and the roots. And this is me basically isolated in my own thoughts, learning my thinking. And it's this concept that I picked out of there called fruits and roots. I named it. And it goes with the perception of people. And how when a gardener is toiling in the soil, nobody gives a shit about that. Nobody even wants to come near it out of fear of feeling the dirty work that involves with it. And so what they do is they sit at a clean distance away of outside of your view, and they wait for that moment of validation to the point where they can pick a fruit or two. Okay? And that seems to be the behavioral logic as far as like looking at the roots of the tree and looking at the fruit of the tree. And that's literally the problem, right?
I mean,
the perception.
Who wants to do more work? I don't.
I like to make the work something that I want it to be. You know, like I'm trying to transmutate something a little bit. That's what I like, transmutation. I love it. Because some of these negative concepts that we've even gone through, not even negative, but contrary, I should say, most of them, and I've been sitting here thinking about every last one of them, and they all have somewhat of a spiritually connected way of implementing it to align with the way we live in life. There's some separation with the mass massage therapy world that we can't see unless they take the career out of it.
People sit down and meditate because they want to be enlightened.
No, wow.
They want to be somewhere other than where they are, and then they realize through the practice of meditation, there is nowhere to go.
They're just still there. You exist.
Like I read books. I do garden a little bit, and we just moved into this place. I may have a garden in the backyard. So remember how I do the cooking show where I'm smoking meats? I'm hoping to build like some little garden beds so I can start adding gardening to my thing as well. And people would look at me and they're like, "Man, you have such a green thumb." And I'm like, "Dude, I killed 80% of everything I put in the ground. You only see the 20% that grew." And it's like the gardening process. If you look at like Masanobu Fukuoka, the One Straw Revolution, I read a lot of books about this because of the permaculture community that I was involved in.
Yeah.
The path of becoming a gardener is learning to get yourself to move within the rhythms of nature. So I would look at Ruth Stout, who used like hay as like mulch and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I talked to people. Cece told me this. She's like, she loves to pull weeds. And I'm like, hate it. I'd rather sit down and drink a beer and look at seed catalogs. Like, what kind of heirloom vegetables am I growing this season? I hate weeding. And I'm like, and I figured it out. I've pulled enough weeds where I'm like, dude, it's like you're never done. It just, you smother weeds. You put mulch down so heavy that it kills all the weeds, and then you get to sit down.
Yeah.
and the mulch breaks down and builds the soil because of its carbon content. And then when you're ready to plant, you just open up the mulch and create space for the seed. And it's like, once you get into the flow, they're like, dude, you're, I hate to say this, the whole thing of gardening in Central Texas particularly is you have to make soil.
Yeah, here too. Yeah, I noticed that here. Just like the desert.
I had a friend, she moved to Indiana, and she's like, dude, you could just throw tomato seeds and you get tomatoes. And I'm like, it's Indiana. It's like, you have different soil, different climate. In Texas, you got to work to make to grow a broccoli. But when you do it, and it's like there's no resistance. The same thing happens with a cooking show. This thing was happening where, I don't know if you've ever dealt with smoked meats before, but I would watch tutorials about brisket, and I'm in Central Texas, and brisket is like religion. Barbecue is just a huge deal in Texas. I was smoking brisket, so I got to buy the brisket, trim the brisket, understand the brisket, how to smoke the brisket, temperature the brisket, like kind of wood. And I did two. They were too tough. I didn't get them to a high enough temperature. I did the third one. It overcooked slightly. So now I'm getting ready for that fourth brisket, but it's like you don't know until you've done it.
Yeah.
Like I could get Aaron Franklin's brisket cooking course, and it's going to go over some of the same stuff, but it's weird because you have to learn how to use your equipment. In a math-based bodywork session, I have to get Amanda to use her body, not mine. Once you understand it, it's like I did some chuck roasts yesterday, and I do the chuck roast slightly differently because it's a smaller piece of meat. But when I didn't run the temperature at all. I used to take the thermometer. It was like every 15 minutes, like testing it. And I'm like, Robert, quit stabbing the meat. Like just wrap it and let it cook, and it's going to keep cooking in the wrapper. It's already got a bark on it. When I finally tested it, it temperatured, like when I ran the thermometer, like 207. You're trying to hit 203 to 205, somewhere in there, because at that point, collagen turns into gelatin. It makes it more tender. And essentially, it was like, oh, anybody who came over and ate is like, dude, how the fuck did you do this? And it's like, man, I've been smoking meat for the last 6 weeks, like with the same equipment, tweaking it. And it's like, when you do it well, it's like customer service. It looks effortless.
Eventually, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, it's like, do I want to work hard or I just want some brisket? Do I want to work hard or I just want to help the client? It's like, once you've gotten a certain amount of mastery, it was like as easy as going out, opening up some mulch, throwing seeds in the ground, and then like you get a result. And
so the hard work is just learning at that point too. It's just learning to understand it and master it, learning how to master it.
I mean, 100 years ago, and I find this interesting. Remember, say they can't learn online.
Yeah.
Our ancestors, or most of our ancestors, were farmers. They had to grow food to be able to survive, raise animals, live on farms. Mm-hmm. That knowledge, that intergenerational knowledge, has been somewhat, for some people, lost. I learned everything I know about organic gardening and heirloom seeds and mulching and all that shit from the internet.
Yeah, me too.
This was stuff that was just passed down that I'm like, how the fuck do radishes grow? How does this? Yeah. And then the more you look at it, you're like, man, radishes are amazing. There's like a million kinds of radish. And it's like I can't fight Austin weather or Austin soil. I just try to make better soil and make myself fit the natural biorhythms for the temperatures in Texas. Yeah. Kristen loves to garden, and she's like, goddamn, the middle of the summer is just nothing grows. And I'm like, no. Okay, the very middle of the summer here, you grow okra, and you grow like southern peas and like Asian long beans. Yeah. Swiss chard. Because those plants will thrive in the middle of the summer. You mulch everything.
Yeah.
You wait until the temperatures start to drop, and then our most productive gardening season for vegetables is through the fall and winter.
Yep. Especially leafy vegetables.
It doesn't freeze here, so you can just keep growing stuff basically year round. The problem is, if you try to grow tomatoes in 100-degree weather, the flowers fall off. But every gardening guide you read is for like Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Pennsylvania has different soil and different climate. It's not the same as being in Central Texas.
Yeah. For you, as far as text, like I like to learn the gardening through the states like that because of the reason you said, because it's just going to be different. And so when I finally got to Texas, as far as a trustworthy channel, I chose Paul Plantu. You heard of him?
Mm-mm.
Oh God, this dude is, I don't know, he's pretty energetic, but I mean he turns his yard with a bunch of native plants. He just does shit with his yard, building the soil without really saying he's building the soil. And he's like, Earth is my planet. I forgot what movie that was from, but yeah. It's a good channel. He's not even that big, and he's in Houston, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Subtly different climates. The repetition is the thing that when I look at somebody like Aaron Franklin, like dealing with barbecue, it's like this sort of maniacal focus on perfection. Where it's like, how do you take this one piece of meat, trim this piece of meat, cook this piece of meat, smoke this piece of meat? And it's like, dude, what? Oh my God. Like, really? It's just brisket. And it's like, but you've dedicated yourself to this craft. I do that same sort of thing to the bodywork itself. Like, for me, when I was told, what you do isn't Thai massage, I was like, okay, I'm done. It's now next level pain relief. And they went, what? And I'm like, well, you told me it wasn't Thai massage, and I'm not Thai, and I've never been to Thailand, so fuck it. Like, it's next level pain relief now.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, you keep changing it. And I go, yes, I make it optimally effective for clients in chronic pain and effortless for the therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you start talking about brisket and you say, okay, so if we take a brisket and trim the whole brisket, we shrink wrap it, and then put it in a sous vide for 36 hours. We're going to cook it at 155 for 36 hours. It's now been sous vide. Now, if you take that brisket and put it on a smoker and you smoke it now for 2 or 3 hours at the end, people will argue, well, that isn't brisket. That's not smoked meat. That's you're cheating or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but what are we trying to do? Are we trying to make it traditionally, or are we trying to mass produce, or are we trying to make a more nuanced piece of meat in a different way? Or, I started looking up, I was wondering, because bison and domestic cattle have similar anatomy. And then I was like, what's a bison brisket like? And I found a guy online who made a bison brisket, and it's like, oh, wow, cool. I never thought about it before, because I'm digging, because there's this sense of mastery. The students keep going, like with the body work, they're like, but you keep changing it. And I'm like, no, you're not seeing the conceptual continuity. Like,
hold on. I think what you're talking about, like you said, is next level. That might be contextual. Because ultimately, I think they're only looking at the surface, which is concept. Like, the concept is that, but then it's how they're receiving the meaning of that concept, the context part. And it seems like people out there, when they're observing, they get it a little confused between the two. And so the context is all there. And if the right person sees it, then it's just one big string umbrella of hope, when it actually connects for them. Don't let them question your model, man. No. Because you put more work into it.
But it's a normal process for them to question it.
True.
It's like, when I talked about civil rights, it's like Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X are pretty middle of the road these days. They were pretty extreme for their time.
Yeah.
I've seen people talk about Malcolm X, and they were like, whoa, I've never seen a black person talk to a white person like that before. And it's like, Malcolm X did not back down. He was exceptionally smart and brutally just cut the meat off a bone. It's like human rights. Oh, yeah, it's about black and white. No, it's human rights.
Yeah.
Like, the deal is, what I'm teaching now seems extreme. What does the bodywork marketplace look like in 2044?
You're going to 44.
20 years.
That's a good jump. I've only got the next 10 in mind.
I'll be 67 years old.
Okay, well, at least you'll be here with me. It's definitely going to grow, but it's more so Honestly, it is about the innovation of the implementation, like how people receive the thing. And that the more these therapists don't know how to get next level with it in that way, then it's really going to make massage therapy as an art shrink even more. Like the casinos don't really accept them wholly like that, and they've been shoved off into the witch world too. Like all these worlds that pretty much are all taboo, massage therapy won't fit in.
Why did casinos with all their money and all their power and all their laws, why didn't they create online poker?
Because there were so many added value features, vanity metrics, that they figured would interrupt. Well, basically, massage and just at-home work isn't going to supplement their revenue structures.
We're already making money this way. Why would we want to innovate the marketplace to this other thing? They let other people do it. Then they use law to try to block, right?
Yeah.
Why did massage schools and massage CE providers craft and create like, no, but we make money in person? And I'm like, I leveraged power to what worked for me. I still have to fight, cables for 3 hours sometimes, but it's like, it allows me to have a podcast with you and around because I was willing to fight and work with the software. It allowed me to have a crazy background and make it look more professional and have coffee and talk about Krishnamurti and Rajneesh because it gave me podcasting capacity. If I talk to massage schools, they're just like, no, we can't do a podcast. And I'm like, cool, listen, you already have a brick and mortar school. What if I came into your school and set you up with a computer and software so you could record the classes, so you could create your own membership site for people who, while they're in school, to get it for free, but after school, they pay $7 a month. And they're like, what? No, but we have a brick and mortar school. And I'm like, yeah, but if you had an online school as a supplement where you just record what you're already doing, you could start drawing people who are paying $7 a month worldwide, not just money from the brick and mortar. No, Robert, we can't record. People are naked. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I don't have people take off clothes.
It's online. It's right here. It's on social media. Like, people are showing cracks and everything. What are they talking about? Image? Is it an image thing?
It's a liability issue.
Okay.
They're afraid somebody's going to film somebody naked and it's going to cause some sort of legal problem. And I go, yeah, I don't have clients take off clothes. I don't have students take off clothes.
And even so, they need to be worried about those people in Massage Envy that are poking people in the butt. Like literally that shit's happening. And so if they're really that worried about videotape, they need to be more focused on changing a lot bigger things.
Massage in our culture is table, cream, glide, and nudity. I took away the table, took away the cream, took away the glide, took away the nudity, and they said, what you do isn't massage. And I went, all right, it's next level pain relief, and I can teach from 4 camera angles globally, live, because people don't take clothes off. And they went, wait, no, you can't. And I'm like, yes, I can. As soon as I figure out that fucking cable, I can stream to 10,000 students a day, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year is another 500 hours of footage every year, and you can study with me live.
And this is evergreen, I think the word is.
And
like it just keeps rolling.
No, but we want in person. I'm like, cool, come to Austin. Oh, God, no. It's like, I don't have a brick and mortar. I can teach you, and I'm showing people completely clothed. I have seen what happens when they came to Kristen and Samantha's jam, and they sat around and went, people seem to really like this. This is like really effective. Like nobody's selling this. This doesn't even exist in our community. And I'm like, am I worried? Kristen did this really early on. She was like, aren't you worried about competition? I'm like, Kristen, there are 2.6 million people in the greater Austin area. We could do sessions 24/7, 365, and we'd never make a dent. We need hundreds of therapists just in Austin. And guess what happens? If we ever got hundreds of therapists just in Austin, we have to travel to Nairobi, Kenya to train. and we have to travel to Istanbul, Turkey to train, and we have to travel to Singapore to train, and we have to travel to Jamaica and Kingston and train. And it's like, oh, it's like competition. No.
There's no point in even saying the word anymore.
No, it's like the marketplace is vast.
They treat it like sports, right? Dude, I seen a weird episode of, I think it was On Patrol Live, and it was like ESPN for cops. Weird. It was really, I think it was the True Law and Crime Network.
Interesting. What time do you have to get out of here?
What time is it now?
It's about 12:30 my time.
Oh, I'm good for at least another half hour.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure because I didn't know about your timing, so I'm fine.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
The competition,
we're on to something, man.
The competition thing, it's like sometimes I think, and don't get me wrong, I do have my dreams, and I know that my dreams are connected to the students' dreams. If I can help the students manifest their dreams, my dreams will take care of themselves. The difference is I look at students, and sometimes I always talk about Lomi, and I'm like, listen, maybe you don't want to do what I do. I'm not trying to make you like do what I do. I want more diversity in the bodywork marketplace. Where are all the niche bodywork services? You want to do Lomi? Yes. So get out of here. Dude, if you want to do Lomi, go to Hawaii. If you want to go do Lomi, go through the Pacific Islands and study Lomi. Oh, do the most goddamn Lomi shit on earth. And give people Lomi and make video of Lomi. And like in other words, don't just manifest my dreams, manifest yours. Because you'll work harder on your dreams. I want to make a good goddamn brisket. I want a brisket so good that any barbecue restaurant I go to, I'm like, okay, this brisket is good, but it's too expensive.
Dude, the bison brisket you mentioned, I almost died just from you saying it. Like, oh my God, I just had some crappy 1 pound block of ground and I threw it in some bread, didn't even put sauce, nothing. I just threw it in some bread. I think I overcooked it because it's very lean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I still overcooked it and I almost died with that sandwich in my mouth. It was so damn good. Yeah. And you're talking about the bison brisket?
Oh, dude, like, listen, there's
my heart's beating.
I did a podcast with some hog hunters, and I'm about to contact them because the temperatures are going to drop. The hogs get real active in the fall, and these two guys, one is like a crazy cook, and another one's like this guy who they have some fields for like planters peanuts up near Dallas or whatever, and he's given access to their fields to go hunt hogs to get rid of because they're vermin, they're pests, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, do I need a hunting license? And he's like, absolutely not. Like, there's no rules against hogs. And I'm like, dude, I don't have a gun. He's like, dude, I'll give you a gun. And I'm like, but I don't have clothes. And he's like, Robert, you can show up in jeans and tennis shoes. I will bring you out into the fucking woods and you can kill hogs and I will help you harvest whatever you want. So what happens when you give me with a smoker and I get a deep freezer and I make boudin? I'm from South Louisiana. Boudin Blanc. It's called boudin in South Louisiana. It's like hog, like that's like mixed with like chicken livers and rice and stuff in a casing. It's a little sausage. In French, they call it boudin blanc, but it's very common. What happens when I get a whole ham, essentially from a wild hog, and I brine it for 48 hours, and then I smoke it?
Heaven.
Because it's free. It's wild game now. You're getting flavors and nuance, and like just when I mentioned bison, it's like it's not shaped the same. It don't have the same fat profile. The flavor profile is slightly different. Like there's all this tweaks. I'm trying to get people to be excited about their practices and body work.
Yeah,
I want them to dream, and they go, "Well, I don't want to do the mat stuff. I just want to do Swedish." I'm like, "Yes." Now tell me, okay? Well, I get sheets, but the sheets are sateen cotton that is only planted by young Tibetan virgins on the moonlight of the Buddhist moon or something.
That's like a $500 massage.
It's weaved by women with spiritual purity who pray over the, or whatever. I'm joking. I'm totally teasing, but it's like, yes, like I understand there's a need for massage envy. There's a need for a low-cost, once-a-month massage. Great. Now, where's all the niche bodywork services? and the stuff that's like pushing the edges and like pushing further into what massage and bodywork could be. Not the mainstream, just table cream glide nudity. All I'm doing is saying we can work on a mat. That's a pretty crazy notion. And frankly, the reason I put out so much video is, one, I can. And two, it shows people what I do so that it doesn't matter that the bulk of the people don't like it. It matters that the clients and students do, and it keeps growing.
Yeah.
Once it has enough social proof, eventually, I think about this, okay? There was a young lady in town. She had this idea. She talked to me and Kristen, and she's like, I got this idea. And I'm like, what? And she's like, clothes on, mat-based with suspension. And I was like, where do you think you got that idea? And I was like, what's the problem with your business? And she's like, well, I can't really train them. And I'm like, why? And she's like, well, I'm young, and I think they just don't want to listen to me because I'm a woman. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I didn't think about that. It's been a long time since I've been a woman, and it's been a long time since I've been young, so I forget. And I'm like, hey, listen, here's what we'll do. You are basically trying to recreate some of what I'm doing. Why don't you do this? You work on running the facility and managing the staff. I'll train them, and I'll do it for free. And she was like, oh my God. She freaked out for about 30 minutes. Within 2 or 3 days, she declined my offer.
How many days?
2 or 3 days. She declined. Why?
After you told her that 3 days later, she said no.
Why?
So I'm seeing a lot of reasons. Trying to find the logical one for her. I think it was because, shit, I'm trying not to think of the fruit, but she was basically after the dream outcome, or it was the fact of not. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I have too many options to think of.
I think, and I didn't have a long conversation with her about this once she declined. I'm not going to argue with someone. I think that she was afraid of me getting a foothold in her business and taking over, where the therapists were listening to me and not her. And I'm tenacious. I'm like a bulldog. Once I get a hold, your business model is going to change from her dream. Because here's what happens. Yeah. If she does it one time successfully, I'm like, cool, you opening another? I'll train them. Robert, you're not making any money. And I'm like, no, I'm demonstrating that what I teach works in a brick and mortar environment. I'll give you the first 10 of your franchises for free, but then somebody else, after they've seen 10 of these things making money, they want a franchise. I know somebody who has training materials. I know somebody who can teach from 4 camera angles and keep working with students. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, door. They don't know how to open their own doors, man. It's that we weren't taught. Hell, I skipped the business class because what was being taught in the business class in massage school just wasn't enough for me. And going back home to work on the aquatic massage, since I wasn't certified, that's what I had to call it.
Yeah.
But I was partnered with a certified Watsu instructor. I don't even know how I ran into it, but I was doing that massage school at the same time. And then didn't even go to Spa World. I went straight for myself, and we worked together in Flagstaff, Arizona until the end of 2016. And then I split with her. I understood what I needed to do. And then I went to Las Vegas to just network and see what it landed. And to start really trying to build out the foundation of my business. And from where I'm gathered, I've been trying to avoid that path, but it's the education part that's going to bring people to the realization that they need to decide for themselves.
When there is enough critical mass,
yep,
there will be enough video and enough social proof and enough websites and enough growth and enough so that people will go, well, I want to do that because now it's safe. Now, well, this is what all the cool kids are doing. Now, well, this is what the winners do, so let's do this. Mm-hmm. Like, people go, well, dude, what about massage envy? I'm like, listen, if what I do grows to a certain point, somebody will finally wise up and they'll ask me, we want to open Thai massage Envy. And I go, I know somebody who can train and has training materials for you.
Mm-hmm. Clothes on, no cream, no nudity. What's the fourth one?
Table, cream, glide, and nudity.
No fucking table. That thing. You know, I never owned a massage table, by the way.
You're unemployed like me. It's a different model. It works. It's just there is an element of external validation and social proof. They need to see more people doing it and winning so that people understand.
Yeah.
My initial dealings with social media, I got a huge amount of pushback from massage therapists because you have to think about how fundamental is table, cream, glide, and nudity to our industry.
Oh, ingrained.
For me to take that away, people are like, dude, this is you. No.
They have no identity at that point.
So what did Socrates think about people's identity based on illusion? What did Krishnamurti think about people's identity based on illusion? What is Robert? Robert makes people uncomfortable because he keeps doing the same thing and asking questions within this one little industry. And says, well, what is massage? And they're like, no, we all know what that is. And I'm like, I don't.
And they get frustrated and they're like, why don't you just go? Like, they want you to go externally validate yourself like they're doing to you. And it's like, there's a wall there. We people like us don't do that.
There's a subtle thing of like, listen, if this worked, other people would be doing it. And I'm like,
That's not true, though.
The reason I do what I do is because I had to keep digging because I was in pain, not because I was trying to be the best massage therapist I could be.
Yeah.
Like, I say this to students, and I mean this politely. They're trying to be massage therapists. They're trying to be service providers instead of problem solvers. Well, I did the massage, and I'm like, no. Did you solve the problem? When I ask them, listen, you went from a 6 to a 0, we solved the problem. And they're like, no, but I'm a service provider. And I'm like, not for pain relief, you're not. Like, this isn't just doling out the donuts. You have to reduce their pain, or it's not effective. You must, if we're working on chronic pain, you have to reduce their pain. Not just do the session.
Yeah, if they can't lay on the table and get worked on when they have conflict on that table. It just never works. Like if we're men and we have people on the table or on the mat, for instance, if they have something they didn't mention about a conflict because we're men, that massage ain't going to be right. And we'll feel it, but they're going to think we shorted them in some way. And so it's like, no, it has to be gone in a little bit deeper. And the educational side of things is definitely the case.
On all fronts, I was a little weird. Social cues and it was always a little weird, no doubt.
Okay.
When it came to massage and body work, when I walked in that room, I knew for a fact, for me to survive in the chosen industry I got into, which was massage, I had to outperform all of my colleagues.
Yeah.
When it came to solving problems, I had to blow it out of the fucking water. It's like, Robert, your personality and nuances and language and your mouth gets you in trouble. They'll tolerate you if you solve a problem. And I did it. I outperformed massively. I'm teaching the shit that I do to a student now in a 10-step sequence. Nope. Like, I do the students, listen, the person has upper back and neck pain. What position do you put him in first? And they're like, prone, supine, sideline. What?
Yeah.
What? The person has lower back pain. You're on a table. What position do you put him in? Well, they're like, prone. And I'm like, supine. And they're like, dude, no. Dude, they have low back pain and you're putting them on their back? And I'm like, yes, give me 5 minutes. They're like, no, dude, it's like you're... And I'm like, listen,
The anatomy and physiology and kinesiology is the same. If I can show you how to solve low back pain for 80% of the clients, 80% of the time, and save your hands, and no, that's not possible. And I'm like, it's the foundation of everything I teach. And if I can't do it, you know how, like, it took months. I put up my new curriculum. It's like a 15-minute sequence or something to teach it. We like filmed it, shot it, trimmed it, edited it. I got a message from somebody and they say, yo, man, that fucking certification curriculum in your thing, dude, I fucking used that on somebody with upper back and neck pain. Dude, it blew my fucking mind. Like, I couldn't believe how easy it was. And I went,
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the Thai massage I taught. It wasn't specific enough, it wasn't sequential enough, and it wasn't tight and terse enough to go, here's 15 minutes, just do this. Here's 15 minutes, just do this. Here's 15 minutes, just do this.
Giving them a time structure is really just for them, correct? Because, it, like you said, it could take an hour or it could take a minute. But if we solve the problem, then it's infinite from that point. We're not worried about time.
I mean, I was teasing the students because I would do the upper back and neck sequence. They go, this has happened multiple classes, by the way. They go from like a 6 to a 0 in 5 minutes. And I'm recording this live, and I'm like, guys, how many more times do I have to record this until somebody fucking listens to me? This is not magic. They're not a plant in the audience. I'm not Steve Martin. This is not leap of faith and a revival service from an evangelist. Like, it fucking works. Why can the students not just... And it's like, well, the students have been taught by brick and mortar school owners that they can't learn online. Because brick and mortar casinos have a vested interest in making sure that people don't play online poker.
Which is a good place to learn, right? Cheaply. I know, education, they're trying to keep us stupid, Rob. So what are we going to do? Like, what can you...
More video, and you're going to fight cables.
I feel like I'm already doing that, but not as important of cables as I need to be.
Well, if you took, like there's 3,000 videos on my YouTube channel that are just like samplers of our membership vault mostly. If I had 100 students who made video the way I make video, what would happen to the massage industry? That's just 100.
Well, there would be a lot more wider awareness about this specific part of it, yeah. And that's really all it needs, I think. I think that's just the ignition right there, yeah. And so they pretty much want to see you with a brick and mortar business and physicalize it in their mind. And
it has more external validation. Brick and mortar is hugely important to massage therapists. Massively important.
And the real external validation is really by taking your approach to healing over the norm. And it's a weird way to try to get them to observe it, but I'm not seeing it right now. But I see what needs to be seen. Say for instance, inside of, let's just say you could pick any HR, chief, corporate person. Okay. So they need to understand how Thai massage solves a lot of problems that they have in their workplace. Okay. Whether it be productivity or engagement, they can't do any of that shit if their lower back hurts. You're basically saying, and I'm also agreeing with it, is that we can say however much we want since they already think it's about the money. And so that 15 minutes doesn't have to be a full-on year contract. Like, ultimately, it can just be a high number for a high-level individual who's feeling the same things everybody else is feeling.
There's people like Kristen is a true believer. Kristen doesn't want to open a brick and mortar. When I talk about brick and mortar and that external validation, I'm not fighting that. I just don't want to like run a brick and mortar on my dime. That's all.
Yeah.
If an investor shows up tomorrow and says, next level pain relief, let's franchise. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Well, what's it? Cool. I'll give you the first 10 franchises with no fee. They'll give a shit. The first 10 is just social proof. Then we'll turn the shit into McDonald's and it'll be on every street corner in America. Doesn't matter. I know somebody who can do it with training materials. If you have an investor, does the investor care about helping people, or is the investor trying to make money?
Yeah, the investor doesn't care about anything except the income running to them. Yeah.
It's like if I go on Shark Tank, they're going to go, ooh, okay, now you got to have a brick and mortar. That's expensive. You got to have somebody manage. That's expensive. You got to have somebody train. He's reduced some of the training fees, I guess, but it's like this is a kind of not fully tested thing, right?
Generally. No. Well, mine or yours?
Well, in other words, the public's not asking for it.
Yeah, that's basically creating the market. Yeah.
Did the public ask for smartphones, or did businesses take risks and give them smartphones, and then they went, "Oh yeah, no, this is awesome. It's a phone, but it's wireless."
Yeah. Not only did they give people the phones like that, like however they did to test it out, they didn't give them the full manual on what to do with it, and then they jacked the price up more by finding another thing that it was solved.
When Kristen said, "Well, I only give them what they want," and I'm like, Kristen, if we gave massage therapists what they wanted, we'd be teaching them on a table. Oh, Kristen, Henry Ford is quoted as having said, "If I had given my customers what they wanted, I'd have given them faster horses."
Yeah.
He gave them the Model T Ford. People weren't asking for cars that ran on oil. That cantankerous loud thing. And then they went, wait, it's faster, it's consistent, it doesn't poop everywhere, I don't have to feed it. Like, it changed the world because he had a vision of like not only the car, but like mass production. The same thing is happening. It's like, I'm not fighting brick and mortar at all. I would love, are you ready? To have a next level pain relief studio in Austin, Texas. If there's an investor watching this and you're like, I got an idea, I'm like, come on, let's go. I'm going to show you the way you're going to get rich. And here's what happens. Now I have a training facility in Austin at the next level pain relief clinic. Now what do therapists think about what I teach? You trained with Robert Gardner in person?
Because that's how that cycle ends up going through time, man. Because that's what we're doing with the ones that died already, technically.
Music-wise, people. It's interesting to me. So, like, people bitch about the recording industry and the way that it's changed, and it's not albums anymore, and it's in MP3s and Spotify and this and this and this and this. And it's like, yeah, I can listen to Post Malone. I like his music. I like Beer Bongs and Bentleys. Hey, Post, if you're out there, contact me. I'd love to do a podcast with you. Come get a session, Posty. I'd be happy to work with you. I downloaded it at some point. Posty, I stole your album. Now, I still went and paid for tickets for like $100 a person for me and Cece to go see him in person just before COVID hit. He was here in Austin. Why do I go see him in person when I can just listen to the recording?
The experience?
The online stuff doesn't get rid of hands-on, and it doesn't get rid of in-person training. It's a supplement. Why wouldn't he want, and he did this with streaming services, he released White Iverson and some other stuff, like, where he blew up. It's like, why would you want to fight distribution?
Yeah. Over the digital plane.
Why?
I don't know. It sounds fucking counterproductive to me. It always has.
The massage industry is very brick and mortar. It's very external validation. Like, if you don't have a brick and mortar, the students don't want it. If you look at massage therapist groups, look at it sometimes. Think about how excited they get when they post a photo of their new studio. Their table, the lighting, the decorations. Look at my space. Oh my God. Your space looks like it is the most amazing place to get a massage. I don't give two shits about that.
Yeah.
I have a mat on my floor with like a Dave Chappelle bag in the back, and they're like, I don't like it. It's not like a spa for you. And they're like, well, Robert, I want it to be nice. And I'm like, cool. What is nice, Robert? Because you want it to be more like a spa and have incense and candles and softened lighting.
Yep.
Like, you're doing massage. I'm trying to fucking do next level pain relief. The reason I have lights mounted on my fucking walls is because this shit has to be lit so I can record classes.
Yep.
Like, the stuff is slightly different. It's not that I don't want it to be comfortable or I don't want it to be pleasurable or whatever. It's just their sense of decor is different than mine, which is fine. Like, my studio does not necessarily look like what a next level pain relief clinic would look like. And it's like you're changing. Like, I do this to Kristen. I tell Kristen that Next Level Pain Relief is a lifestyle brand. And she's like, what? And I'm like, Kristen, Next Level Pain Relief is a lifestyle brand. Yoga Journal is selling a lifestyle via Lululemon. They're selling a lifestyle. Well, if you wear Lululemon, you are a hot, attractive, sexy woman who does yoga. You are invested in your physical and spiritual health through this practice. And we have the pants for you. I'm like, Kristen, here's the Next Level Pain Relief ad. You ready? You just got your hair done. It's a beautiful flowing curls. You're in wonderful looking yoga pants. You're curvy, attractive, successful. Journey is in the passenger seat of a 1966 cherry red Mustang convertible. And you get in the car and you're driving down Highway 1 in California towards the Esalen Institute. The redwood trees are in the background. Journey's got his tongue out hanging like, and then the camera pans back and it says Next Level Pain Relief. And she's like, what the fuck does that have to do with body work? I'm like, nothing. But it sells lifestyle. Do they want to be hot, sexy, young, curvy, dog-friendly women in a 1966 cherry red convertible? Living the dream. It's a lifestyle brand. I literally go, what do Next Level Pain Relief specialists, what do they dress like? What kind of clothes do they wear? And she's like, I don't know. You're always asking all these. And I'm like, no. Okay, hold on. I have a membership group. I'm going to tell you a quick story. We have a membership group. The students can ask me questions. How often, Antoine, do they come in and ask me questions about body work and treatment for soft tissue pain problems?
I'm assuming at least once a day.
I'm wising up as I get older. I'm wising up. I go, ladies, I have a question. I almost always wear tie fisherman pants. They're cotton, they breathe well, they're kind of warm in winter, cool in summer, and they've got a little bit of grip. Ladies, what kind of pants are you wearing in session? The same people who never ask anything about chronic pain management had a comment thread 40 fucking comments deep about what kind of clothes they wear in session. And one of the students was like, Robert, no offense, but like I look like a frumpy lesbian in those tie fisherman pants. She's like, it comes with the turf, but you know, it's like, oh, okay, so you don't wear tie fisherman pants. Oh, okay, I didn't know. I mean, I just wear what I wear. What are you guys wearing? And almost always they were like, yoga pants.
Lemon.
Yoga pants. And I'm like, why do you guys wear yoga pants? And they're like, well, they're very form-fitting. And I noticed when I would work with students in class, they would start sliding across my vinyl mats. And it's because their pants are real slick. And I go, Kristen, that's it. We build Next Level Pain Relief big enough so that Lululemon makes Next Level Pain Relief pants for our practitioners with our logo on it. We'll make we'll make $1 million. Because what do they want to buy? I want mats, blankets, bolsters, pillows, suspension, materials with the logo on it. Next Level Pain Relief.
Because now you're changing now, and now actually you're not really changing. You're innovating the way that the experience that they have when they heal, and so that's value they'll probably never understand. They'd probably still stuck on scrub hands.
The external validation right now is look at the kind of table I have.
Yeah,
and I go,
it's fine.
Well, no, just get rid of it. No, but you're removing everything that makes me special.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only thing that I could say is, unless somebody's going to cut my skull open and take my brain, I think people are going to have a hard time being competitive in that way, taking business and taking ideas or whatever. Like, it's not really about the ideas of competition anymore. And it's going to take a while for people to realize that. It is. So what, cause honestly, I don't know. I got a bone to pick with Florida anyways, because, my mom lives here and stuff. So I have to make sure everything's right for her health. But I mean, I'm liking the corporate setting as far as just the machine of it all. But yeah, you're right. I don't even want to think about even the little $200 a month office. I don't want to think about that. Not even as a marketing coach or a coach of marketing. You know what I mean? Whatever the coach standard is that's based on my skill, I don't even want that to be inside of a brick and mortar. I need this internet to literally get the real estate like most people have now, except whatever you did is almost exactly how I saw the self-awareness outlines that I have. I'm still putting together information for the self-awareness book. Self-awareness, journey, the journey of it, basically. The things that happen that you have to intentionally make happen in order for, that understanding of the self to take place. And the understanding with how the self affects the world and everything above that. Like, it's like, if I can find a way to understand this, because you're not making it seem like funnels are important as far as a strict funnel, right? Like, you don't do funnels.
So why do you think I don't use funnels?
Well, A, because you're not really pitching to me, and and B, I mean,
a good salesman makes it feel like it's your idea. A good salesman doesn't bother the person that they're trying to sell to. They solve problems. Like, there is a funnel from a free workbook to a free trial membership all the way down to like suspension masterclass and apprenticeship. Is that I don't force the students through it. If anything, I'm trying to supplement and grease the slide so that they just, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Oh my God, this makes so much sense. Oh my God, I want to go to the distance. I mean, let's look at it this way. Remember I said brick and mortar is very important to massage therapists? If massage therapists eventually see enough video and they understand what this means to the massage industry, they will effortlessly go towards it. Eventually, instead of massage schools blocking what I'm doing, here's what will happen. So many people will be following me online that they'll plop their ass down in massage school and say, I want to study with Robert Gardner and do what he teaches. Before they go to massage school. They're like, no. I need to get a license, I think, but I want to do this shit. I want to do whatever they're doing. Schools will then listen to me. Dude, I can go to schools right now on Facebook and I'm like, hey, I teach from 4 camera angles. I'd be happy to stream into any license or any massage therapy school in America. I'll do it for free. No interest.
For nothing.
No, I get no interest at all. And they're like, Robert, how are you going to supplement what we're doing in core curriculum? We're trying to get these students through core curriculum. They know to a degree that I throw a monkey wrench in the whole system because they'll start listening to me through the cameras and it's giving validity to online education, which they don't want to do. Do massage schools run online education?
Not really.
When I've gone into local schools to talk about like private practice, the schools don't say you can't come here again. They generally don't invite me back because it makes the students upset. What does my methodology and my method and my teaching sound like when I come in and they've had 9 people in a row say you can come work for our brick and mortar facility, and I come in with a mat and say, I'm going to teach you how to work for yourself and keep 100%. They're like, no, it's making us really uncomfortable what he's talking about.
People are more committed to building that trust in a relationship if they're invested. It's bottom line. People are so afraid of money that it's almost like half of their soul doesn't want to commit to something that's not normal, and half of them don't want to commit because it takes their own money.
The old guard of the massage industry, don't worry about me teaching on a mat. In my opinion, the old guard of the massage industry is fighting the fucking internet tooth and nail. They're passing laws to try to block online education. They're going to fail because they're gatekeeping a gate that was destroyed years ago. But they're like, do they give any more prestige or validity to how I'm teaching from 4 camera angles live? They're like, no, you can't. And I'm like, why? When I talk to students and I go, listen, why does Texas not allow hands-on instruction online for CE credit? And they're like, well, I don't know. We were told we can't learn online. I'm like, cool. Why were you told you can't learn online? And I'm like, guys, here's why online education is not allowed for hands-on instruction for CE credit online in Texas. Because I would give away CE credit to every Texas massage therapist for the rest of my life for free. And schools don't want competition. And they're like, what? But how would you make money? I'm like, I'll sell it to the other 49 states.
Basically.
I don't understand. I don't know.
And believe it or not, that's how every single, the startups in Silicon Valley and all that, when they were going about their stuff, this is how it was supposed to be done in order to test out whether we'll fail or not. And these people coming to you, fighting you about this, they don't want to admit to having failed to figuring it out.
Listen, the cab industry was safe. The cab industry had laws. The cab industry had a union.
Yep.
And Uber said, we have global distribution via an app. Was the cab industry afraid? All right. Now, the massage industry says, well, we have laws, and we have schools, and we have licensure. And I say, I'm going to give the students an app. No, you can't. And I'm like, I can't give them an app?
Now they look crazy for even denying it. Like resisting. They look crazy now.
Once you create the reality, it's like now there's not just Ford, there's Chevy, Honda, Hyundai, like Kia. Now it's a commonly accepted thing, but it's like when the first people does it, it's not normal. It's not a commonly accepted thing. I don't want to take the whole market. I just want to build. I want so many clients and so many students that I'm busy, that I get a chance to choose, what am I going to do? What am I going to do here? What am I focusing on? How do I help the students more? The students say, I want an app. I'm like, cool. I need $100,000, but I will give you an app with the most detailed, digitally structured, Netflix-level graphic interface for online training the massage industry has ever seen. I have 1,000 hours. If I get 10 more teachers or 20 more teachers and we record their classes, we balloon to 10,000 fucking hours of video. It's got to be organized so the students can watch it.
Yep. That's what I figure would be the impossible part for me. That's a future problem that I shouldn't even be thinking about, but it's in the back of my mind.
What's the problem?
The streamlined aspect of the library itself, coordinating to who needs what, like who to send. Like I know you don't send the same people.
Antoine starts teaching. what they'll have, instead of what they have now, which is a very text-based interface, they will go inside, and it'll be Next Level Pain Relief, and there'll be a picture of me and a picture of you. When they click on the picture of you, they see your classes, and your classes are broken down with a graphic thumbnail like it's Netflix, not text. That's what we currently have. They go, do I want table work or mat work? Do I want to see Antoine's classes or Kristen's? And I go, oh my God, you mean you broke the whole thing down? So it's indexable and searchable, and you click on the shoulder to see techniques of me teaching and talking about pain relief just for the shoulder. Oh my God. And I go, dude, listen, I was not a tech worker. Like, it still annoys me I have to work with a cable for 3 hours to figure out power supply or whatever. But the deal is, there are so many advantages to the online training. It's completely transformed my business. Here's what used to happen. I had an idea of what I wanted to teach. I made a workbook and a DVD. Then I taught the class. Now, I teach the class, record the class, and then I make the materials. The online training allows me to go in reverse because I have training for my new curriculum up. If I decide it's 90% good enough, I can literally get together with Kristen and reshoot it and go, it's better now. Once the workbooks were written, they were written. Once they were written, I didn't want to go change them again. But the thing is, the online curriculum can be restructured, retooled, It's like if they decide, listen, Robert, like he talks too much, but I really like Antoine's classes. I'm like, cool, so watch Antoine's.
He talks too much too, so people are going to love to listen before they're through. I see that visual. I can see that. I can imagine it for sure because I need to get some true, actual, solid website real estate, and what I have now is just based off of Square. So I'm not really using it for that level. It's just out there for.
What really developed from the website was direct to consumer. Once I saw what the internet was doing and the power it was giving me to write blog posts and make videos, I was like, holy shit. Like, dude, this is crazy. This is direct to consumer. Like, I'm only billing the students who are signing up for my membership, and I'm only like, nobody's taking a cut or a percentage. And I'll say this, Kristen has fought going to facilities and paying rent because she's always trying to save money on the rent so she can make more money, right? Why are people going to support my business if they can't make money out of it?
Some people don't even want you to make money out of their business.
Local schools won't support what I teach because they can't figure out how to make money out of my business. I'm going direct to consumer, and I'm trying to cut out middlemen, and they're like, but if we don't make money, we're not going to support what you do.
Yeah, all they had to do was open up ChatGPT and tell it to figure it out for them.
I don't suspect local school owners or school owners in the United States are using ChatGPT to try to have a conversation with an AI about the future of their business dealings.
Nope. And that's probably why I don't know, like at some point in time I kind of settled in my analyst mind that I have, the little analytical data analysis. I didn't even know I fucking had that. Not on a digital level, but apparently I can translate these statistics and numbers into words in my own language, in our language even. And so as far as the language in reference to the audience or the person, man, I'll pick that person apart until I know every word that they understand. And whether my fundamentals change with those words, I don't give a damn. Because when it comes to that person, they have to understand how they can use these things for themselves. Like, to help themselves boost themselves. So yeah, Robert, you know what? I do have to go soon. I still have to eat something today. But, we should find a little consistency in content, I think, especially since, you have a Walmart of digital products. But I think people still can't tangibly think of it in their own world. Kind of like how we thought of NFTs for a little while when it first came out. I didn't understand any of it. I still don't. Not really. But it's like...
Look at the future and go, when I was talking about 2044, Is online education going to grow or shrink?
It has to grow. There's people pushing the right education being pushed. Yeah,
the money is going to go to the people who get there first. When I talk to local CEP, they go, "Well, people, they have to go to brick and mortar schools," and I'm like, "Okay, maybe for the hands-on portion, they have to go to brick and mortar schools, but why aren't schools supplementing as heavily as they can to be able to reduce costs to the students so they can study portions of the anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, the stuff that can be done online in the most clear, concise manner that acts as a supplement to the," and they're like, "Dude, what are you talking about?" And I'm like, outperforming the market. If Massage Envy tomorrow, if Massage Envy, as the largest employer of massage therapists in the United States, says, "Okay, we're now a massage school. We're going to standardize everything in the curriculum we potentially can, and you can do your hands-on training at our facility." Every mom and pop massage school in the United States is going to close. Why? They can't compete.
Oh God, man,
they can't compete. Massage Envy would be training the people to work at their facility in the exact way they want to, using digital supplementation to reduce the costs to students. Do students want to pay $10,000 when they can pay $5,000?
No, because you're uprooting somebody else's pocket. Yeah,
I would do this. I would do this all the time. I'm like, Robert, listen, everybody fucking hates Amazon. They tell you every day they fucking hate Amazon. Amazon is worth billions of goddamn, or $1 trillion or whatever it is. Why, when people say they hate Amazon, does everybody buy? And I'm like, quicker, better, faster, cheaper, free shipping. Robert, your job. They don't like me. Fuck it. Quicker, better, faster, cheaper, free shipping. Robert, doesn't matter what they fucking think about you. Quicker, better, faster, cheaper, free shipping. If I produce the information and give it to them for pennies on the dollar and outperform everyone in my industry, who's going to win?
You have no other choice but to be for
quicker, better, faster, cheaper. I'm like, hey, they're like, I can't afford to travel from Florida. I'm like, I can turn on cameras and teach you right now from 4 camera angles. And they're like, no, but we want hands-on. I'm like, go ahead and fly to Austin. No.
Yep, back to the beginning. I'd come to Austin just for the bison beef, man. Seriously.
Yeah, I'd have to dig. Bison is weird because it's considered an exotic, even though they're indigenous to this, hemisphere. I also don't know how much in terms of bison, like animals put on more fat the older they are. So if you had somebody who was raising bison and let the bison get older and put on more fat, it would also create a situation where you could dry age them, which is also going to change the texture and stuff with the meat. So I don't know a lot about bison and like what's being done. I do follow the bearded butchers, and I think they grew up in a family that was butchers that were dealing with bison in particular.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably, it's still on my top list of red meats. Like, I can't even really get down with steak too much. It just gets on my teeth too much. And I know that's not me if it's like that.
Central Texas is beef country. I eat a lot of beef.
So why am I avoiding that place?
Texas?
I mean, they let me, I don't know why.
There's a lot of reasons to avoid Texas.
As long as it exists, but yeah, no, I did enjoy going through the enormous amount of times I went by wheels, through car or Greyhound. And I did stop in Austin before, this big college town, right? Yeah, that was it. And that place, I enjoyed stopping there for the layover. And it seemed like it was like at the halfway point. So let's just say, just from the panhandle part of Florida, that's probably 4 hours from here, maybe 3. And what would the Greyhound trip look like based on what you know?
From Austin?
To get to Austin. Yeah.
Well, it's gonna cut across down through the south over I-10, and then going through I-10. Does I-10 keep going? Like, I get confused past Louisiana if it goes straight through Mississippi and then like Alabama, Georgia.
Well, it definitely doesn't hit Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma is further north.
And you're kind of
when you get to Houston, you hit I-10, I-10 goes east to west. I just don't know where I-10 goes to. If like I-10 goes all the way to Florida or not.
Okay, that's what I was kind of asking. Yeah, because honestly, it wouldn't cost. I don't mind taking Greyhounds. Like I took a Greyhound coast to coast so many damn times, and I'm thinking from here to there, any amount's really worth it to me. It's just a matter of buffering the financial obligations. But as far as that goes, I am literally doing every marketing campaign that I can do in order to stimulate one of them to generate revenue. I mean, I'm planning an event. This, the meeting at 3:00. Like this event has pretty much occupied my mind on a collaborative level. Like my mind wouldn't be able to sell specifically anything right now because I'm so focused on this marketing opportunity for the neighborhood and the people in the city. And like I literally got a commissioner to donate candy for us, and so she's helping us clean the neighborhood. So the person that I know, Dave, the HOA president, I'm not even in the HOA, and he's allowed me in. And so, I mean, just knowing him, the avenue of at least for Apopka, maybe even Orlando, the opening of possibilities for that, if we can find a message that goes from you to me and then me to Florida, and we have the message right, the words, the feelings, the emotion, the empathy, everything, once that happens, dude, I wouldn't even call it affiliate marketing anymore. I'd say we can open up a freaking home shopping network to sell these digital products live from somewhere. I would love to help with that because ultimately I haven't gotten the regular basic massage in so long because I know how deep it goes. And now it's like, well, I'm so used to a product massage alone. A table's not going to cut it for me. I need something to have that to break that muscle memory, And it's like I would easily help. I would easily love to freaking sell this and try to see how far we can get the message into Florida. And that's kind of my brain. I'm going to use my project management software because that's AI, and I actually paid $10 a month for it. Like this is the one that I chose because I think I can use it. I can figure it out. And sure enough, this thing. I mean, I got an HR agent, a freaking a wellness marketing and sales consultant, like the brain that handles the data analytics, everything. I just trained them, and so I'm just going to tell it to look you through. You look at your website, and it'll basically know what to tell me based on how I tell it to solve a problem or display the problem to apply the solution. Both ways. So, I mean, I could do that, but really, I definitely want to see about getting at least the reconditioning of the breaking of the old conditioning, whatever it takes, man. Florida needs that too. And honestly, California and Nevada, they're hurting just the same. They're just as ignorant.
Yeah, if you're dealing with massage industry as a whole, it's very uniform.
That's cool.
Like there's a huge market for differentiation, different niche services.
Yeah, but they're gonna have to realize it may look like one body of an ocean, but different parts of that ocean, the molecules won't be the same. The ratios are off. The salt's weird, and places are concentrated, and some don't have salt. So not all large body visions can ever be the same. But at the same time, with the right collaboration, man, it could just look like one big monster. And I think we're two little monsters that can make this shit work. Like we should probably think, because I love meat and I want to do things content market as far as like food and nutrition and I don't know. I like taste tests because I haven't eaten that much in my life. So like just something so simple. I would just love to come out to Texas just to get out of Florida for a little bit and dry off.
Yeah. Just let me know. We can arrange that.
Yeah, because this year, do you have family? Do you have ties?
Most of my family, I have a brother here in Austin, but the rest of my family's back in Baton Rouge, in Louisiana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get back with them and stuff. So I guess, yeah, I don't I don't do any of that stuff. But even the family stuff, I don't make time for any of them. It's not for any particular reason. It's just they know what I'm doing. And now that I've reconciled with them, they really know what I'm doing. So they're just kind of like, well, let them keep growing. Unless you get in the way, we might get stung. So I think they're just glad I'm alive from coming back from Iraq. And my whole family thought I was going to die. They thought I was done for. And so did I. But I appreciate you talking to me and filling me in on it all, just accepting and being opening the floor with me. Because I think we should come up with some sort of way to make some messages known. And because this is just as good as the podcast as any right here.
Yeah, different topics, but it's an extension of the overall thing. There's very few things that I'll discuss that won't circle back around to the business in some form.
That's what conversation does, especially when people are liking the same things. You know, that the people that appreciate the same journeys and all that stuff, dude. Yeah. Like that's like you said. I brought up Krishnamurti, or you brought him up, and I lit up, and I was like, dude, this is through text. Is my energy flow through that hardcore? Is he that hypersensitive to my energy? And I chose number 2 because honestly, my energy acts like you as a person. I may not physically act like that, but you know, generally my energy is really, you know. So that's the reason I went to massage school myself, was to get that under control. But yeah, whenever we can do this again, do you want me to just let you know?
Yeah, just keep in contact with me, and we could do like a series of these on different topics and go in a little bit more depth. There's always more to discuss. We traverse a lot of like landscape, but it's really interesting to me because I can have people on of different backgrounds who have different sort of nuanced interests, but a lot of our stuff overlaps.
And that's where we win.
Yeah.
That's so, we win. Whatever.
Antoine, thank you for being on the podcast today. You guys continue, tune in. You could follow Antoine on his social media. Hopefully I link it down below. And I'll see you again. Oh, yeah, can't speak. I will see you guys again on the Robert Gardner Wellness Podcast. You guys have a good day.
Hey, guys.